I realize I just said ready for the clap, which I imagine back in the 80s. Wait, I guess do people still refer to chlamydia as the clap today?
Absolutely. It's you gotta clap that out,
So, yeah. Okay.
As if we've all had it.
Well, it's probably a good place to start. That's quite an easy link to make. Us clapping to get the audio synced into talking about sexually transmitted infections. They did get rebranded. They used to be called sexually transmitted diseases. And then I believe they became infections. I don't know what they are today. I haven't really looked back. I haven't been keeping up with the naming. I know UFOs got a name change as well.
You don't need to know what they're called if you wear a condom. Just
wow,
throwing that out there to the audience.
Thanks, Father.
Everybody, make sure you wrap it up.
I don't even know what's called. What are you allowed to call a disease these days? Probably nothing anymore. It's too offensive.
Is it because disease is? I don't know. Well, why did the definition change? Didn't it change because I
think it's expanded because things like alcoholism and gambling addiction are now diseases. Good talk.
I like the silence as we're going through.
It's an interesting way to go down. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just thinking.
Why keep naming things that I have, Jason, calling it a disease? Stop gaslighting me.
Bloody hell. Well, I don't know. Look, in terms of that significant name change, I'm not certain, but I still understand if people were to reference it either way. That's me showing my age right there, right? So, I've been around that long that once upon a time it was called sexually transmitted diseases, and now it's infections. So what are UFOs known as these days? I want to go down the alien rabbit hole here because we got a couple of them. They're not UFOs.
They're not
anymore.
UFOs?
No, I think they changed name. I think the government changed the name.
I'm googling it. It's UAPs.
UAPs. What does that stand for?
What does that stand for?
Unidentified aerial, I don't know.
Yes, something like that. Unidentified aerial phenomena.
Okay, so there you go.
Jesus, get out.
Well, there might have been need for this, Jason. We haven't been keeping up with the UAP or UFO debate, right? So we can't really pass judgment on this, can we?
Well, the UFO thing has never grabbed me in any meaningful way, and I think part of it is because I cast with Anders so closely, so I hear all this whether I want to hear it or not. I get this.
Or you think he's an alien?
Anders is very much into the whole UFO conspiracy, alien coming to Earth kind of thing. He follows all the new sightings, all the things that pop up with the different naval pilots. Have you ever seen the graph though of I just said I'm not into it, but here I am. Have you ever seen the graph that shows all the different all the different UFO sightings across the world, or UAP sightings across the world, and 98% of them are in America or in North America, or in the United States. There's really not that many sightings outside of my country, so I'm just kind of convinced that my country's full of morons. To a certain extent.
Wow, it took that to convince you of that fact.
But fair enough. Fair enough.
But
that's an interesting angle.
For me, one of the what you were saying and talking about, one of my favorite bits is George Carlin on soft language, and he describes the sterilization of the language. I don't know if you guys have seen it, that particular one, but it's a great one. Talks about how just calling things a different name over time, changes your perception of what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's what they did back in the day with the clubs, mate. It used to be known as this, and then it goes down for a summer, comes back. They've changed the branding. They've spruced it up a little bit inside. It's a new club.
It's new, exciting.
Yeah, you're calling it a different name. And back in your parents' day, they couldn't wear jeans to get in, but now you're having a chat with your dad that you don't have to wear shiny shoes and jeans to get into the casino anymore. It's not that type of establishment, Dad. It's not James Bond and shit. So it's the generational things. We change. The world changes. And how do we get this tenuous link into Counter-Strike? I'm sure there's plenty of ways.
The world changes. We've been around the world thanks to Counter-Strike. One of the places we've been to and that we're coming back to next week, Chad, is going to be Brazil.
So that's pretty cool. So we're a week out. I feel like when you get to this point, it's different for when you're on the fence and you're going to be watching, right? Because right now, from a player perspective or a coach perspective or an analyst or whatever, trying to prep around the team and get everything just right, this is the final week. Now, when you boys were coaching, is this the point in the week where you're going as hard as you can, or is it that this is a little bit more relaxing? The hard work should already be done at this point. Like travel for a lot of people is going to be over the course of the next 7 days. It's going to be different for everybody. What's the point that these teams should be looking at now? I see certain teams flying out for boot camps now. Like it can only be like a 3 or a 4 day stint, really, can't it?
Well, it's also the Legends team have extra days
a little bit
off,
longer. That's
right?
true.
So for FaZe, I think you're referencing them, but yeah, usually, I mean, this is where you do the not just the most work, but the
I
highest
think Maus are
quality
doing a boot
work.
camp now as well. Actually, they just tweeted
FaZe
about
as
it.
well.
Sorry.
Kerrigan just tweeted about it today.
Yeah, Yanko mentioned them, but because they have longer. But I think Maus are in the challenge.
Gotcha.
stage.
Yep.
Sorry, I just wanted to get that little tidbit in.
Maus are, but yeah, for example, for me, it was with a team like FaZe and more experienced players. You want to give them some time off, but also I always wanted to go to a tournament from a boot camp, even if it's like a 3 or 4 day boot camp. I always wanted to have one because that's when also the players, they play the most CS. Everyone's there in person, so it's much easier to, communicate with the players and to them and kind of explain what it is that you want from them in a way. And, because of that situation, you're also probably playing better. So the confidence rises as well for the players a little bit. And then you go to the tournament straight from there and you're like feeling ready. You're amping up, right, for the tournament. So I think that's always the best way to go.
Yeah.
Go on.
I was going to say, now that you mention it, that makes a lot of sense. Like I remember when we played at that Gfinity event where it was best of twos and we had some good performances against NIP and Fnatic. That was off the back of, I think, already being there for a week. I think we'd already been there and playing in the Gfinity kind of PCs and everything for a week. So we had a bunch of practice before playing that event. And now that I think about it, like I guess that is a boot camp for us flying from Australia, and then we have a week in that kind of environment. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's a bit of reflecting now. 6 years ago feels like a fucking lifetime ago. Actually,
It is a
would have been more
lifetime
than
ago.
that. 2015 it would have been.
Completely different world. Less UFOs. They were UFOs back then. Yeah, I think too, like, especially for the teams that are like the Legends teams that get to kind of skip that week. Like we always talk about it at majors, is like these teams coming in a little bit late, coming in like somewhat rusty, right? And I think for a lot of them, I think there's got to be a huge priority on maintaining the individual levels of players, like almost having more of a focus on not necessarily on like huge amounts of scrimming, although I'm sure that's going on, but a lot of like individual play, whether it's FPO, whether it's a lot of death matching. Make sure individually you're not coming into it rusty and you're coming in just as an individual player much more confident. And then I think the other side of things that don't really get discussed all that often are, we talk about the players in the boot camp because they're obviously super important, but then you also think this is a good period of time for the coach and the analyst to be sat down and say, hey, let's identify like, the 6 to 8 to 10 teams that are, in this stage that we really like. You have to worry about all of them, right? But like we have to do like a deeper dive into these 6 teams and see how we want to play against them, what kind of philosophy we want to bring, what kind of style we want to bring, so that then you can really work on getting all your players on the same page when you're in the moment. When you only have 24 hours to prepare for a team, you want to make sure you already have some information set about how you want to handle this opponent, and then kind of bring the teams into the fold in a much quicker fashion, so you're not doing all the legwork, at the event in that overnight period.
No.
No?
Yeah, I was going to
Dude, are you kidding me?
That's interesting.
You want to
angle.
pre-prepare for 7 or 8 teams? Are you out of your mind?
I don't
Why
think that's
not?
what he's saying.
How many analysts did you have on your team? Like,
One?
yeah, but exactly. So for me, it's just, what people do, actually, here's a dirty little secret that a lot of teams try to do, which is why I didn't allow more than one person to be like in the coaching slot for opponents. Like people would put in a practice server their coach, their analyst, their fucking chef, the physiotherapist, I don't know, I will have to put 16 slots on the server for these motherfuckers, because what do? Like they come and the coach is like focused, whatever, let's say on the team, on themselves. But the analyst is just taking notes of what the opponents are doing, maybe even recording the scrim from their own point of view with OBS, right? So, and then he's just taking notes, okay, they like to do this, this is their reaction and that is their reaction. They would start piling up information from practice. But the thing is, I always hated that because, sometimes I would purposefully try to practice like a couple of things, right? So then you're taking notes and you're thinking that's my reaction to maybe everything. And we're just doing that, to practice. But you have teams who are already, from scrims, they have info outside of, and obviously when you have to play them in a tournament, you go back and look at their official games, but you'll also look at some of that stuff from scrims, and maybe if you've noticed something, right, like use that as well. But I think that for you to like, let's say what you're talking about, Jason, is like if you're phase, right, and then you want to have like for Vitality, for Cloud9, for Navi,
you have like a base of information of like how they like to play.
But I think you have that just from playing them already.
And when you're talking about that, are you talking about, because the angle that I kind of interpreted it from was the sense that you would, in this time, prepare your stuff that'd be different weapons to deal with different play styles, right? Like, because I could, like, Yango, you talk about this a lot on the desk at the moment in the type of Counter-Strike, and this depends on the type of team as well. But you want to have a really strong base, right? Have a strong set of how you're going to do the map control and have a lot of different options if they have these certain counters and be able to play fast and slow. You want to have a bit of everything, right? But so you're able to pivot depending on what kind of matchup you're in. If it's a team that you can get banana control from, right? Maybe then you're going to go for just more heavy stuff over there. Whereas like with what you're talking about, Jason, are you talking about like going into like, oh, this is a counter specifically of what some of these teams are going to do? Or are you just talking about building out a deep enough playbook to be able to handle the different styles that you've identified as ones that you need to be on point for?
I think I'm talking about like building up some kind of like for each team kind of like a certain philosophy of how you want to play against them. If you want to mix in some certain aggression on different parts of the map, or if for instance, or if you have an idea of what map it's going to go to. I think the idea that you're going to go to the major and every day play a game and then 24 hours later you're going to be playing another game like that the idea that you're going to want to cram all that prep. I think you're going to want to do some preparation early. And I think it's crazy to assume that these teams, maybe not the players involved in it so much quite at the moment, but certainly the analysts and the coaches are coming up with a playbook that they can reference, that makes their lives easier to prepare for an opponent, where you have a groundwork. And yes, the details are going to change and specifics are going to change as you see how teams come in and if they've changed something in some of their earlier stage games in Challenger or their first two games of the Challenger stage, you're going to be able to add and adapt. But like the idea that you're not going to do maybe 30 or 40% of the work across multiple different opponents that you might run into and then kind of finish it off when you know you're facing off against them is crazy. Like these teams have enough of a staff to build that
I think what
groundwork.
you're talking about is crazy. It's like you have
Wait,
so much work to do on your own team. Like, I mean, okay, maybe if the staff is big enough and then you can put one guy aside and say, hey, listen, we're going to work on our own game.
Yeah, but the staff is
coach.
big enough now. The staff is big enough now.
Well, I am inexperienced in that department, so
yeah, I know you as the only member of the coaching staff would probably not be able to handle this. But I know as a coach, you can always tell your analyst during one of the boot camps is like, hey, we're going to be scrimming as a team for like this chunk of like 3 scrims, and then we're going to have like individual practice afterwards. Analyst, I want you to spend the rest of like 2 hours of this day looking into like big. Look into like the games that they just played.
See, that's where you've fallen into your own trap, Jason. Why would you want to look more closely at big?
Why are you using that specific example? Just extrapolate it, Yanko, you piece of shit. Extrapolate that to the field.
Hey, you can't fall back to using complicated words against me like as a defense mechanism. That's not fair. No, but I'm saying like, okay, it's just we disagree because what I would tell an analyst to do, for example, it wouldn't be that. I would tell him, listen, find me like 3 more half-buy rounds on Inferno on T side that we can run. Like I feel like we're lacking in that department. We're just doing random stuff. And, we spend a lot of money for these half-buys and we're never close to winning any of them. Right? I feel like if anything, with how many good teams there are and the fact that it's best of ones, you should more than ever be focused on yourself than your opponents, right? Because these teams are sometimes even more unpredictable and whatnot. And if you play good fundamental Counter-Strike, right, like there's fewer things can go wrong compared to if you rely like too much on preparation and finding like little set things.
I know what you mean by that, and I would agree to a certain extent, but I think there's plenty of opportunity to be able to pull out a few little details here and there by looking ahead at some of these teams.
It definitely depends on the teams, though, right? Like I can see both sides of this. For example, if you're a team, I think if you're a team that you have a very, very solid base already, and a lot of what is going to make the difference in your approach to the game is going to be the details of how you react to your team, your opponent, sorry, then, you know, maybe that's more important for you, right? But I would look at like a Gamer Legion and look at the example that Yanko's saying about if you're focusing on yourself, you have a couple of moves in a best of one. That's where like anybody can be scoring an upset at this type of an event, right? And if you can connect two of those together and get yourself two upset on paper victories by running, you know, a couple of really well ironed out gun rounds and having good reactions to whatever they bring their way. I don't know, like the problem I have with trying to go super prep heavy now, and you guys are talking about doing it from prac, is I remember we would run like pracs where I would just want to run executes on train. And it'd be like, even if they start countering us, guys, that's fine. We're going to identify here angles that are going to be powerful against this type of execute, right? And we would still try and run it and see if we would be able to get away. And I don't know, some of this stuff, it depends on the quantity, and I imagine there's teams who aren't playing other teams because they think that they might be like, would you be, if you're Na'Vi and FaZe right now, are you playing against each other in the lead up to the major?
No. Probably not. Probably not. Maybe you're playing like right after the RMR, a game or something, right? Like because you feel like there's still a lot of time out. But yeah, you're probably not playing any of the teams that you consider a threat, right? Which is also pretty telling. You know, if you see FaZe playing, I don't know, Cloud9 in practice, they probably don't consider them a threat, right?
Yeah.
Well,
that was a bad example, but
yeah.
You get what I mean.
Well, that's a hard game for FaZe. I don't know. I'm looking at a lot of stuff. Like today, for example, I was looking at the amount of matches that this Sprout team has played already as a 5, and they just made changes in the break, right? And obviously, they found pretty immediate success. The roster comes together. Listen, they've already played 58 maps, and they have another best of 3 in the book still to play, I think, in a couple of days before they... Well, I guess they even have extra time, right? Because they're a team who's in the Legends, right? So they have time to have even more officials together. I think when you look at FaZe, their amount of total maps together, what did I say, 58 just there. FaZe in like the same amount of time I think I looked at, it was only like 30 officials. It's crazy how much Sprout have played over these last couple of days. And then you look at some teams that wouldn't have played an official since they qualified. Sprout, who's played a shitload of officials since they've qualified, and everybody's in a different place. So you can't use these metrics to measure anything. You can only use those metrics and then go, okay, well, FaZe are in this position, etc. Sprout are in this position. They probably need all these extra games. It's kind of a strange situation we find ourselves in when it's not that not everybody's on an even playing field. It's just people have chosen to go about their prep time differently, whether that's through necessity or whether that's through like the choice of their game plan. Do you feel that sentiment there, Jason, goes into what you were talking about last week, how there should be no event between the end of the RMRs and the start of the major, for example? Because now people can start framing, oh, Vitality didn't win at the fucking the showdown, so are they really the best team in the world? Like it starts to bring those questions. Like, is it an event they should have played? This is just one example.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing for them, obviously, and this is always the X factor, is they kind of had to play in it contractually, right? Would be the thing. Yeah, I think I don't actually. I mean, I don't mind the teams choosing to play in some of these events. I just think it's kind of silly to have it this late way. Like, why wouldn't we just? I mean, I know there's different TOs operating all of them, but why wouldn't we have just swapped the RMR and the showdown? And then we just have all the major stuff is just right in a row. Like honestly, like I watched some of the Blast Showdown, and I really like Blast's events, but like this event like just didn't feel like it had any real impact or importance to me with the major just around the corner. Like I know it's huge for Blast circuit and who's going to make it into the Royal Arena, so there is importance to it, but I didn't feel that same intensity being like, oh, you know, this is kind of like the calm before the storm of the major. And that's where I think it's kind of silly to have, especially like such a tier 1 event, like truncating between the RMR and the major itself. Now, I think...
Plus, it was online.
Plus, it was online. That didn't help anything either. And I mean, if you look at it that way too, let's say like it was like an old school showdown where it was going to be on land as well. I think it's crazy to think that like, what if like the North American teams had to fly from North America to Europe and then all the way down to Brazil, all the way within the span of like 8 days just to play in this one qualifying event? Like, I think that's an insane thing to ask teams to do, not just North American teams, even the European teams, even if their travel isn't as far, before potentially the biggest event of most of these players' career. I think it's one of those obligations that we just shouldn't be saddling on their shoulders. I feel like it should be the RMR, a week off, and then boom, we're into the major.
But I think I don't want to stray back into that conversation, but I think the most important thing that you just said there is it made the Blast event not feel that important. And I think that what you just said there is the most important thing, because nobody is winning in that way then, really, are they?
No, like, Blast certainly isn't winning.
Yeah.
I mean, like the teams aren't winning.
Well,
like
they won because they got a Danish team to win it.
Yeah,
so.
true.
They're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess from that angle, yeah. But I meant like in the sense that they would probably want, anytime they're putting on a broadcast, right? You want as many eyeballs as possible. That's part of the game.
And you're also
playing.
using it to hype up your finals in Copenhagen in the Royal Arena, right? You're like, oh, these are the teams that are going to be there in the Royal Arena. These are the teams that are going to be there at our flagship event. That's coming up right after the biggest event that's ever been held in Counter-Strike down in Rio.
Can I take a different angle, I suppose?
Sure.
This is me just trying to look at this from a 360. Is it okay though that it didn't feel that important? Is it like, because not every event is going to be as important, right? Like, so I looked at it from the perspective just then of that sucks for Blast that it was that way. It sucks for maybe some of the teams in terms of like how much focus or the ramifications that an event like that could have then on their major run, right? Because we know how much of a mental game Counter-Strike can be in some of like that. Because like a loss for Vitality against Astralis online is lucky. If it was on LAN, we could probably have a bit of a different conversation. But even still, the loss like that's one that's going to leave a bit of a mark, right? Leaves a bit of a taste in the mouth. And we know that.
I don't think it will.
High level. You don't think it will? You think they easily shrug that off?
I think if we were to talk to the Vitality guys behind the scenes, not in public, at the major, they would tell us that they're not too fussed by it, that they don't care.
Okay.
And that's kind of why I hate having that event there.
But they miss out on an opportunity to like play in the arena. So
yep, and maybe
you have the Korean Magisk on that team and Zonic, right?
What if you asked that question before and after the major? I think you'd get different answers.
Yeah, certainly. I think it'll probably hurt when the major comes along, but I think in that moment the loss was just like, all right, guys, we don't even have time to be upset about this. We don't have time to feel the pain about this one because we have the major, and that's where the focus is.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get that.
And also important to remember that they have booked themselves a spot at the World Final because they won Pro League.
Yes.
That's true too. So like that end goal, that long goal is already secured for them, right? But that sentiment of does it matter if a game doesn't matter, a tournament or a match or whatever doesn't matter that much? Because obviously not everything can matter equally. So is that just part and parcel of it?
For me, I want every Blast and every ESL event to matter. As our two top dog tier 1 tournament organizers, I want their circuits and their events to always matter. We have plenty of events in Counter-Strike that don't have to matter so much. And we have I think saying like they don't matter isn't probably the right way to phrase it, obviously, but for lack of a better word. But even if you drop down to like the tier 2 events, we have like the events that have
they don't
that
have as
feeling,
much significance.
Yeah, exactly. And you're kind of getting a glimpse at the up and coming teams rather than the professional teams playing. So there's always going to be like maybe a step down in that kind of intensity of what stakes are on the line. We have enough of those events throughout the year. I don't want to water down our two best TOs, by saying, your events don't have that same level of importance as they should.
Okay, it's an interesting angle. I want to kind of explore that a little bit more. These tournaments, right? Let's say a smaller tournament operator. Is there any way that they can run an event that like is it the quality of is it the facilities that are made available to the players? Is it the history of the event? Is it the scale? Is it the prize money? Like, is it the fact that that's where all the other good teams play? If we had a smaller event like we had back in the old days, and like an epicenter was big because most of the big teams went and there was pretty nice prize money, right? So like, does it need to be a combination? That's how they have to lure teams in, I guess. If you want to run a big event today and you want to compete, you have to have sizable capital to put up as prize money. Is that the where this buck stops?
I don't know how much that matters in today's Counter-Strike because of things like the Louvre agreement and because of the Blast partner teams. I think from a business perspective, if you're part of those organizations, you're saying we're partners in ESL's project, we're partners in Blast project, and if we attend an Epicenter or we attend a Star Ladder, we're actually devaluing our partnership with ESL and Blast, because the strength of those agreements is that if you want to watch FaZe Clan or you want to watch Liquid or you want to watch Cloud9, whatever brand it is, you're watching them at ESL and Blast. And if all of a sudden they start kind of going out and attending events of Epicenter and Star Ladder, then they're devaluing their participation and their kind of their partnership in those other leagues by showing their brand at other competitors. And now that they have like rev share, now that they actually have investment into these leagues, it doesn't make sense for them to even appear. So I think outside of any kind of ridiculous prize money, which by the way, we all know from working in this industry, busting out some huge prize money to attract teams is the quickest way to just burn all the money you have. Like it's just not a valuable investment long term, just to crank up the prize pool.
Yeah, well, no, that is true. But there's obviously companies that have come in the past and done that before, and a lot of them don't hang around, right? And people go, why isn't this tier running events or whatnot? Well, there's obviously multiple reasons behind that. But
I've seen that. I've seen those comments a bunch recently, and I think that just the real answer is, we don't have the same ecosystem that we had 5 years ago when you were going to get, an ESL event and then a DreamHack event and then a Star Ladder event and then an ESL event. And we just don't have those operators anymore. They've all backed out because there's not. This is my own theory, but much like how if a YouTuber wants to grow or a Twitch streamer wants to grow, you have to have X amount of streaming hours to constantly be caught by the algorithm, to constantly provide value to sponsor in terms of minute watch, in terms of hours watch, in terms of eyeballs on your content. I have to imagine it's the same way, just scaled a little bit differently for a TO, where if you're an Epicenter and you only get 2 weeks across a year. Like, how are you ever going to grow that if you don't have the value to actually bring more sponsors in and actually grow your product? There's no space for you to develop any kind of an ecosystem the way an ESL or a Blast has. So you effectively just get choked out of the scene.
Well, I think it's also, again, a lot of issues would be easier to fix if the major was the last event of the season, right? Because you can't really compete with a major and anything that's related to it. And these smaller tournaments will be played and have to exist, and these teams have to play it, like Chad said, out of necessity, because before the RMR they can't count on making the major. And even if they do, we saw it with Bad News Eagles. They made top 16 last time. They're going to be in Rio, but in between they didn't really have that much success, right? So I mean, if the only two events you show up at, the big ones for a lower tier team, are the majors, like, is that enough for a full year? I don't think so. I don't think you're happy with that. I don't think you're satisfied.
Well, probably not as a competitor, right?
Exactly, right? So I think an answer to how does someone fight through, in this current ecosystem, I think potentially someone like WePlay is a good example. Like, what they did with the Academy League, I think all the teams, the organizations involved with that are satisfied. And I'm sure if they were to make a tournament for the senior teams, those organizations would try to attend, right, and try to play. And I think what they're doing is having great production, right, and having some really cool stuff. So it would be interesting to see what they could do to replace, sort of like, even we always had like ESL plus one at least big organizer before Blast. It was probably E-League, then you had
Star Ladder ran a lot.
Face it here and there, Star Ladder, Epicenter, right? But now a lot of those are not in the scene anymore, right? So I think there's room for another one. We see some of these online cups, a lot of them, the Snow Sweet Snows and that online circuit that's supposed to end with like a, I don't know, 500k LAN or something like that.
It's a big one, yeah, it is a big one.
Like, so that's also, I mean, that's the problem, is it's like sort of a year-long thing. But if you win one of those, then I think of the smaller cups, you qualified for the big one in the end, so that's also fine, for teams like, well, anyone who's not probably Navi, FaZe, Vitality at this moment, like all these other teams. And if you want to go with Liquid because, they're an NA team and would have to travel extra for that. And, like outside of maybe 5-6 teams, all these other teams would benefit from playing at that last big event. Like, it's a lot of money involved. You will have good opponents, give a chance to rise in the rankings, and so on and so forth.
I don't think you'll see those teams at those events though. I don't.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't
Unfortunately.
necessarily think it's a bad thing either. I think this kind of world. One thing that I've been thinking about lately is, you remember that like era when buyouts and salaries were so insane that it was so difficult for teams to kind of make changes because we were kind of recycling all the old guard that was asking for insane amounts of money and that had the huge buyouts attached to them. I think the one thing that saved it, at least in Europe, is the fact that so much younger talent was able to be picked up for cheap and then prove that they could compete at the same level and sometimes even far better than some of their counterparts. And that ability for the European teams to drop down and find new challenge, I think, really alleviated the pressure of crazy buyouts, of crazy salaries and everything like that. And I think the more we can do to kind of develop that sort of like, semi-pro or amateur leagues and tournaments. Can you hear my dogs? They're going a little crazy. But I think anything that you can do to kind of give those tournaments that feature that level of players and that level of teams is actually massive, to be able to give them more eyeballs, more attention, better production value, better players and teams. And like the ESL Challengers, the We Plays, etc., like those smaller leagues are huge to be able to make sure that we have a constant stream of players kind of pressing the floor of the professional scene. I think that's actually massive if we can give more time and more eyeballs to them instead of flooding an entire calendar with the best teams and best players in the world.
Yeah, I think that's a cool angle. I'm just looking now at the Elysia Masters in Finland, right, which is going to be in November, so after the major. And the teams who are signed up to it now are like Mouse, Ents, Big, Astralis, Fnatic, Heat. And I think that there's like some obviously different reasons for different teams to be involved here. But for Ents, for example, like they're invited. Hey, do you want to come to a $200,000 tournament and try and win? Yeah, okay,
in Finland.
let's go. Yeah, let's go to a $200,000 tournament and try and win. Like, they're not partners with Blast either. They're just partners with ESL. Mouse are in the same boat. Big are partners with both, and so are Astralis. So it's interesting to see like them signing themselves up. But the argument you can make for those teams is they need to get themselves in shape for the big events, right? Like, they need as many games as they can fucking get.
Well,
but
also
it's
there's
probably not a good thing for exposure, though.
There's a spot. The winner gets a spot in Katowice, 2023. The
play-ins, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a big one.
I guess that's motivation to the main circuit. So that I guess, in a way, this is. It's not the tier 2 circuit, right? But it's a way to get into the tier. That means it's a big deal, this tournament.
That's
right.
Yeah, those are points I think that don't get hit on enough to the point where like the full community sees them. Is like some of the bigger events that you'll see that have, like, as we were talking about, like events having important stakes, is like sometimes you don't even realize when like a smaller event is actually a qualifier for a Blast event or a qualifier for an ESL event of some kind. And I feel like that would be sick if these TOs like hit that harder for like the marketing purposes, right?
We have that, like the DreamHack Challenger gives you a spot. I think at some of the IEMs, some of them, but it also gives you a spot at the conference, which is the tournament that you play to get a spot in Pro League. So there's different ways, that you can get, even if you're not a partner team, a chance to play in Pro League. I think a testament to that is the fact that every season we have like multiple new different teams that manage to qualify, right? It's never always the same exact teams outside of the partner teams.
I'm just looking at it now, the announcement when they put this out for the Masters. So this was back in June, and it's saying here, like, this is from the HLTV article. Where are we here? The tournament will be affiliated with the ESL Pro Tour, and the winner will receive an invite to the play-in stage of next year's edition of IM Katowice alongside the lion's share of prize pool. So, like, that's something that I think we always knew was possible, right? For other TOs to be part of this umbrella, but like to sign yourself up to be in that position is kind of like saying, yeah, I don't know. It's
signing myself up
you're
signing yourself up to always have like a ceiling of where you can go, right? Like
exactly, right. You've set ESL as bigger than you, right? Which I guess is fine. Whereas, like, I don't know, if we look at if we look at what some events could be if they're standalone from that circuit, it's almost like a different promotion. And if in that promotion, like let's say that Cloud9 they offer something really lucrative to a team like Cloud9, who's not a partner team with ESL or Blast, and then Cloud9 go over there, and then they get a couple of other like quality teams and have some good Counter-Strike going on. This is the thing though. You need to curate the fan bases. And I think fan bases are mainly normally around players. I don't think, like, there are definitely some who are fans of teams, and now that Counter-Strike has been out for 10 years, there's definitely NIP fans, there's definitely Fnatic fans, you know what I mean? But I think like a lot of people are like fans of particular players the most. And if you had some big personalities or some names in like a separate kind of promotion that could, and then they only met like at like the majors and stuff, that's kind of a cool story. But that's the thing with Counter-Strike that I like, is the fact that almost at every event, if you're good enough, we can see the best teams in the world, or we should see the best teams in the world going toe-to-toe. But I guess there's so much variance in a lot of these names now. Like, there's so many good Counter-Strike teams, and there's so many talented players. It's really quite difficult to measure it consistently. And now we have less events. You don't see the teams going against each other so much. I had a look. Like, Vitality and Liquid are both yet to play FaZe this side of the season, which just tells you how little we've played out of the break, or at least that's what it indicates to me. Like, Vitality are the number one team in the world right now, and they're yet to play FaZe. I understand that's not how the rankings work, but I guess we're not making the assumption. Like, that's where if we sit and we say Vitality are the number one team in the world, does that mean they're the best team in the world? I guess with like achievements and how those are points constructed, then yeah. But do we think that Vitality is better than FaZe?
No.
Exactly, right? So they're number one, but we're in a period where the number one team we don't think is the best team.
Well, this is also, I mean, it's also just the nature of the way that the scene is structured, in that, you know, that's just constantly going to be a little bit fluid, these top 10 rankings. It's kind of part of the charm of all of us. We've had this conversation a number of times, and not to put ourselves under the microscope, but we have talked about doing just a power rankings of, in that moment, who's the best team, and not doing this like 3-month running tournament schedule that you consider like who are the best teams right now, what's the rank. We don't have anything like that in Counter-Strike. Everything's done on points over a longer stretch of time. So it gives you...
What Duncan used to do was more like power rankings, I remember.
Yeah, and I think even he kind of he changed the way he was doing it. I think he put out a tweet like maybe a week or two ago that said like he was kind of done with his own rankings, and he might move to more of a power ranking style, because he did his own like top 10 rankings over a period of time, much like HLTV's, and I think even he sees that we should just do like I don't want to do all the work, but we should do like a talent, you know, all the commentators and pundits and analysts, like get 20 of us together and do like a 20-person ranking and just kind of release them one day.
I see what you're saying.
Official power ranking. Everyone does their top 10.
I think our power ranking is the official one.
Okay, perfect. I like that. I'm with you.
We'll do one right before. We'll do another episode before
in person.
The game starts in person, and that's when we'll do the power ranking.
If
well,
it all
actually,
goes
for
well,
the first stage, right? We can do it like that.
Yeah, well, if it all goes well, we should have internet available to upload like that evening, I suppose, and then it would be up in time hopefully before people start watching the first games. That would be ideal. I don't want to promise anything.
I have a question. Do any of these teams that are in like the We Play Academy League, any of these academy teams in all these organizations, do any of them like compete in like ESL Challenger, ESEA Advanced, and all that stuff? Do it? Because I only see like, if I go to like, I don't know, if I went to like Astralis
Young
Talent,
Ninjas is a good one.
They
play in big boy events.
Okay, because like Astralis Talent only does like We Play NPF Invitational. I don't see anything in their match history on like ESEA or ESL events. So I'm just like very curious, like if you're going to have an academy league, wouldn't you want them as a partner team rising through the ESL structure?
But I think those because it's sort of part of the same organization, maybe we start coming into this conflict of interest convo again.
They did play at ESL Challenger Valencia in May. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Okay. Well, there you go. If they played at ESL,
that would be interesting. But like, wouldn't
that's the qualifier, right?
Yeah, but like, wouldn't you? I don't know. That's a really weird one. I wonder how they would actually handle that situation if one of them actually did qualify for Pro League.
That's curious. Yeah, I don't know.
Because also,
guess
if you were ESL and the partner teams in the Louvre agreement, wouldn't you say, hey, now that like 8 of you guys have your own academy teams, we'd like to have our Louvre teams with their academy squads funneled into our system too, so that we're marketing you on every level of the chain, you know?
I don't know. I think the whole thing with the academy stuff is weird to me. I don't know how. Like, I know people will cite like a lot of success stories from it and stuff, but I don't know. It's a strange thing to me.
It hasn't been figured out yet. It hasn't been. It's still early going in the whole structure. I think from an organizational perspective, from the team org, from a tournament org, and I think from a player perspective, I think it's still in the early days to know exactly where it's going to go. But you can see kind of the idea that they're trying to form and build upon at the very least.
Yeah. I don't have too much to say about academy stuff. I want to pivot somewhere else.
Cool.
I don't know where I want to pivot.
That's
but
rock
I
and
don't
roll.
know. Like academy stuff is just.
Yeah.
You're an elitist, Chad. You don't care about that. You only care about them when they get, promoted to the main team and, prove their worth.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're talking about, the elite level Counter-Strike, right? And when I tweeted and just seeing people's storylines, what they consider, like just the people at home on Twitter consider like the main storylines of this, it's interesting to see. Like, obviously, you can see who's fans of what by who's in their avatar or their Twitter name or whatever. And some people have some angles that are coming at it from a fan perspective. Some have, broader. Some like to see people, in pain. And they're just talking about like the fact that G2 and Astralis aren't there. But there's all these different angles, right? And I just started sitting and writing down like my thought process about the storylines for the event. And I was trying to think, well, obviously there's some that are bigger than others, but like last time rounds, I feel like the storyline was FaZe Na'Vi, right? That was those two Titans going to lock horns.
Yeah.
For this one, I don't know. I was thinking because of some of the results we've had this side of the season, the event, as we spoke about last week, feels somewhat open, right? In terms of there are teams who could definitely win, right? There's a larger pool of names that feel like they could, on any given Sunday, get it done to win in this type of an event. But it all still does really hinge around FaZe as the common thread, right? Because I was looking at like the team looks like they can be beaten because they have been, right? But then you contrast that with the fact that they're this big event team, right? They got the dual crown of Katowice Cologne. They got season 15 in their pocket. They're the reigning major champions, right? And they do it in the biggest events when it matters the most. So I guess the question, because they have had losses and also the field appears to be getting a little bit closer and more competitive, and the fact that Na'Vi are still like a very strong team. You look at their like consistency throughout the year, like third, fourth Kato, second Antwerp. They came first at the Blast Spring Final, second IEM Cologne. Their players at the moment, I think statistically, are playing a little bit worse. Everybody besides Electronic than last year. So you can see why they're not winning, because their players are playing, a little bit worse across the board. But then you frame that with the major and you go, okay, Na'Vi are a team that they've got simple. It's a major. There's a lot of emotions in this type of stuff. It's going to be in Brazil. There's going to be quite electric. You throw that all into a mixing pot. There's a chance Na'Vi win this event, right? So, but I can keep going on this, but it all kind of stems back to FaZe in this position to have a big year of winning all the big events, right? It doesn't matter if we're at the smaller ones and we lose or we stumble, whatever. We're here just to win the big silverware. And then obviously the Grand Slam is on top of that. But like everything else I feel still comes off of that main branch. What are you guys feeling is the focal point with all of this?
You mean like the big storyline?
Yeah, because obviously then you can get into the Counter-Strike and the head-to-head matchups and the more specific ways people are in form or approaching the game. But like I'm kind of looking at this because, yeah, I think big storyline.
I think
we can go anywhere with it, really.
I think a lot of it is like anything can happen. Right? Like, who would have thought that G2 wouldn't even be at the major? Who would have thought G2 wouldn't make the major after winning their opening game 16-0 and then losing 3 straight to not make it? Right? Who would have thought Gamer Legion would play so well, that Sprout would make it in as a Legends team, and so on and so forth, right? So I think it speaks about how much the level of, I think, individual play more than anything else has risen, right? Compared to some of the previous majors and whatnot. I think it's also super interesting when you look at it. I mean, you mentioned Na'Vi and FaZe. I think FaZe in between the major and Cologne, they were what, fifth, sixth in Dallas, and something similar like in Blast. Like they didn't do that well at all. And then again, people started ringing the alarm bells and so on, and they showed up at Cologne, played really good Counter-Strike, and beat Navi in that amazing best of 5 final. So I think they're a team that really, the players, just like their mindset coming into an event like the major is going to be different. Like they're going to be more zoned in. It's like they also had it happen already a couple of times, so for them it's just like natural, right? Okay, we had a bit of a slump, right? But now we're coming into the major. Now we're ramping it up, and also not playing that well and losing some games. I mean, that gives you lessons, right? Like that gives you things that you can see maybe how teams have changed playing against you, right? And it gives you an opportunity to adjust and come up with a slightly different, game plan or a philosophy. Nothing major, right? Like they're not going to change who they are, but small things here and there where you can be like, okay, like this is what teams started doing against us. Now with these small changes, like we can again be one step ahead.
Yeah, I see that. Like I think that there's like the doom and gloom around FaZe. It's just because they're but I think it's just because they're not like a dominant Astralis or like a Na'Vi when they were just like smashing, right? The games are close and it's like, oh shit. But I think one of the things which needs to be given a bit of traction here is the best of ones or whatever that are going close games for FaZe when they were playing the RMRs. Like when you look at a best of one, I feel it when a team blows out at the start of a game to a 6 or a 7 round lead. Like you think about how easy that is possible. Like that can happen really easy. You lose the pistol, you force, you lose that. You're on a full eco. First gun round comes around, you don't have all the nades and utility you need. You lose that one. Okay, now you're fucking 5-0 in the hole, right? At that point, the game already feels pretty bleak. But that's Counter-Strike. That's the ebbs and the flows of the game, right? So I think in a best of one, and this is why the players, they seem reductive when they say this. And for us, when we hear this as responses, we're like, oh, this is. But there's a reason that those are the classic responses. It's like, oh yeah, we lost both pistols or we lost a couple clutches, right? That's true, and we obviously want to minimize those kind of situations. But in a game, when it's live and it's happening, sometimes it's out of your control, right? Sometimes some of this shit just goes down, and there's definitely things that you can always do better. But sometimes some fucking magic moments just happen, or you get caught off guard, or someone's just absolutely booking you. I don't like that because that kind of makes Counter-Strike seem random. But there are those days that do just pop off.
But it's not. This is the thing. Yes, people pop off. But here's the thing. Like probably the most important thing when it comes to the major is dealing with pressure, right? Like these teams should boot camp, but they should have daily conversations with like a sports psychologist and the performance coach or whatever about like, expectations and ramping up and understanding that, things might not go as planned and they might have a bad day and lose to a team that they're quote unquote not supposed to lose and whatnot. And that's, fine as long as you stay on track, right? Like, talking to some of the players for the RMR, for example, people were saying like people are not good, like these teams aren't like playing really good, but what they are doing is playing with no fear, right? Taking space aggressively early, and some of the teams didn't do a good job of responding to that, right? Like it's not like it's difficult to figure it out, and it's not like a counter to that is something super complex. It's just as it's happening, you're not really adapting as quickly, and people are playing. They're more tight, they're more restrained, right? They're not as loose, and that's it. And then these teams, like you said, then they get hot on top of that, right? Like some individuals start hitting some like 6 shots and get good games, and then the game just snowballs out of control, like it gets out of hand. But that's because you have given them more space than they deserve, that any team should have, right? Because you're maybe playing an underdog team and you're like, oh, we don't want to maybe take too many fights or challenge them too much, right? Like they'll beat themselves. That's almost, that's going to happen way less now than it would have a couple of years ago. Like these teams are much better. And just one last thing is with these lower tier teams, what you mentioned earlier, they play so many games. So it's like they might not be prepared in the same sense of the word, but they went through so many scenarios because of the volume of maps that they've played online and in these qualifiers and in these online cups, right? That they might not have something set per se, but they've already played, all different kinds of styles. They played against teams who are super aggressive, that are in your face. They played against teams who, save nades and play passive. And because they've met these styles so many times, they have more answers than you would imagine, and they can adapt pretty quickly.
Yeah, so do you think then in that case it's always better to be the team setting the tempo, like being the most active team, right? Because sometimes when you look at, because I know exactly what you're saying with these teams doing things maybe you're not expecting and whatnot, but if you go out there and just play default Counter-Strike, like if you start your first gun round of a game and it's like, all right guys, let's just go to our positions and hold, like everybody does instead of the initiative, all right, let's get a boost going short, we'll flash, we'll push, we'll take this space, like when you're sitting back playing the default style and you don't have any, is that down to the comms? Is that what do we put that down to? Because I always found when my AWPer was talking a lot and he had ideas, it made it really easy for me to call around him and understand if he goes for this pick, whether he makes it or not, we're going to have this type of gap to work with. We can follow up with this, like maybe in-game leader calling set strat. So that's the thing with default CS, right? It comes down to the mood of the players in a way, right?
Yeah, and that's where preparation on sort of the sports psychologist part of it, the performance coaches, you can't just go quiet in a high pressure game, right? Like that's what it is. It's, yeah, you're prepared with your strats and everything, but you're also prepared in terms of attitude, approach, atmosphere, communication, right? Like no matter what's going on, that needs to be on a high level, because that's how games spiral out of control when you get off to a bad start, and then also everyone just clams up and starts being more quiet. People are not giving suggestions, they're not asking for utility, they're not offering utility, they're not suggesting little plays that you can make, the micro plays in every round, right? And that's what good Counter-Strike is made of. So then you start playing below your actual level, your opponents are starting to play above their level because they've gained confidence, and they're just playing their own style, and somehow also as a surprise to them, it's working against a much better team. And that's it, especially in the best of one, that's all it takes. But, to answer your question, I think, yes, it's most of the time, it's good to always take initiative and, go for information plays and whatnot. But against certain teams, that can do you more harm than good. Against some teams, just quickly, against some teams, all you need to do is play default, just take some map control wherever and just hold and wait for a reaction, then punish the re-aggression, right? Like mostly against some of these, let's say, CIS teams that are tier 2, they're tier 3, that always want to be on the move, always want to do something, right? And you use that against them. But outside of that, yeah, just the more information you have, you're making plays, you're knowing where you're weak, where you're strong, and your opponents, they just need to keep adjusting on the fly, right? And make educated guesses, and that's more difficult than it sounds.
I think it's also like the like those, I guess, like kind of to touch on your question of like, is it better to be initiative or kind of do the default? I think it's kind of a good glimpse at why some of these teams are the underdogs versus a contender for the trophy or just a really good top team. Like you obviously, you need at top level of Counter-Strike, you need to be able to do both. And you can catch certain teams off guard with like a really effective style, somebody popping off, you're being very aggressive across the map, round in, round out. You're taking things away from them and they struggle to adapt. But you look at a FaZe, they hit those very same struggles in pretty much every single game at the RMR, and they came out on top of each and every one of them. Then you go look at the G2, who is a team that we consider to be very good, probably not putting him in the same like title contender category as FaZe. And they struggled to kind of adapt and change to the underdog teams that were beating up on them. And I think that's where you see the biggest difference in kind of the top teams and how they can actually handle these situations. Like G2 couldn't do it, Navi handled it, FaZe handled it. Some of the other teams handled it very, very well. And teams that have experience like Astralis that are still trying to put the puzzle together, weren't able to do it, didn't have that cohesion as a team, didn't have that confidence among their players to stay individually focused and they got shut down. So I think it's just kind of I think it's just kind of a cool glimpse of like, I think it tells a lot about like kind of the bigger profiled names that aren't going to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the things, like, at the end of the day, and this is why some of the underdog teams are really cool, like Bad News Eagles is a perfect example of this. Like a team that just aims. Like they're going to run at you more often than not, right? And they show you the volatility of that play style, but also like how it can work and the type of gaps it can create and the chaotic type of CS. Whereas a lot of the CS we play or see playing at the top level more often than not is of the same ilk, right? Everybody's trying to play a similar type of game. It's a bit more well-rounded. Where some of these teams, they truly do just have this like shock and awe kind of way of approaching the game. I think that's the curious thing about, and this is where we get into some new like fledgling type storylines. But for I'm gonna have to learn how to say his name correctly before we get into the casting. But I'm calling him Shui. I heard I think I was listening to something where Connor was saying his name the other day. I think he said like Shuhei. But regardless, the in-game leader from Gamer Legion.
Okay, Kinga told me it's just like Shu. So
okay,
I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
I guess we'll figure it out
we'll ask him
live.
on day one. We'll shoot him a DM. Be like, hey,
we'll have to get that sorted.
Yeah,
Shu him a DM.
But if like he's able to call, like, who are they playing in their first match? I just had it up before. They're playing 9Z. Like, it's a very winnable game for them right there. Like, out the gates as their opening match. If they
9Z
can, like,
Dark Horse.
9Z hits hard, baby.
If they can piece together, right, two best of one wins and then get into a best of three, like, that's the type of team that could go further. And then this is where we're talking about, like, in-game leaders and their approach to the game. Maybe he's coming in as, like, a puzzle solver who I don't know if he does or he doesn't, right? This is the type of question and shit we need to talk to him about. But maybe he's not a big system guy at the moment, right? If you wanted to eventually be, like, a tier 1 team where it's the type of Counter-Strike we were talking about before, then maybe he has to become a system guy. But right now, maybe he's just got some good strats, some good mid-round. There's a lot of things that we can learn about a young guy like this in a more pressure environment. And I think this is the metric that we lost, because the metric back in the day was always like a LAN, or it was always like a crowd, right? Everything was LAN or crowd before. Like, there was online stuff for Pro League or whatnot, but when we were going from event to event, it was less of this hotel stuff. Like Gfinity stuff we were playing in 2015. Sure, the crowd wasn't massive, but you're in a display.
Like a theater,
you're in a fucking cinema. Yeah. Like, I don't think there was many people there whatsoever. But like Gamescom, for example, there's not like when we played, we weren't comfortable. And a lot of these events back in the day, you didn't even have practice PCs. I think it's better the way we've come now. But we were talking about this back out of COVID. Was like the soft entry. It was like online into studio lands or like into hotel room lands, because everyone needs to be separated, then into studio lands, then back into big boy lands, right? And we're still just like learning about players and that now. And we're coming out of this period where we had a bunch of teams that were good kind of break up. We had some good players, they've either just not playing at the moment or they've retired over the last couple of years. And it's like we're always going through a generational shift. So it's not like this is the new generational shift. I feel like it's just consistently happening because we're not on a timeline with trades or anything like that, right? It's not like it ends of the year and we get like a mass exodus of players. When it ends for someone, it fucking ends for them. That's just kind of how it goes, unfortunately. But yeah, the major for a lot of these names, like if Sprout can come in, who I was referencing before, who just ended up losing that best of 3 that I was just talking about, to fucking X-Finest, if they can come in here and play really good like they did in the RMRs again on LAN, it's like, okay, yeah, like we know a lot of these names are good, and now they're doing it in a bigger environment. It's good confirmation for the future of some of these names. That's a long way of saying of me getting there. I think I got there. Did I get there?
Yeah, you circled back to it right at the end. I'm with you, because I think this is an event where, since we've had so many of these teams show that they can challenge and so many surprising results, especially in the RMR, this is, part of the storyline of this major is going to be beginning the story in the legend of someone like Shui. And someone, all the different random players that are kind of popping up. This is where we get that first glimpse, and this is where we set the foundation for how we get to talk about them moving forward. So that's a huge thing to keep our eyes on. I think to go not. Did you have anything to say on that, Yanko? Before I had something I wanted to pivot away to.
Not really. You can
cool.
Go ahead.
I wanted to. This has been kind of in the back of my mind heading into this, and this is a bit more of like the top dog. This is more about FaZe. I don't think anyone would go the full crazy route of saying that this FaZe team would be better than the 2018 and 2019 greatest roster of all time, Astralis. But would this be the best year on record for any team for FaZe if they win this major right now?
By a long shot. like by far.
Even without
it would be the best.
even without being able to say that, like, would you say they're better than 2018 Astralis?
Well, that would be more difficult.
Because now if FaZe wins this, they get both
thing,
majors.
Like the competition is tougher for them this year, right? Like, you know, Astralis' year was amazing and everything, and you know you can't take anything away from them. But at the time when they were on the rise, like the teams who were the biggest contenders were falling apart. Like FaZe was playing with stand-ins. You know, the Brazilians were like also switching to like an international team, right? Like their roster sort of fell apart. So a lot of teams that would be, you know, the most legit challengers to them weren't, you know, they were going through a tough time, and you know they just had a great moment to figure everything out, right? And you look for FaZe, they were the usurpers of Navi, who had a great last year, right? And I think you just have more teams that were able to.
I feel like this is the
off.
conversation where you talk yourself into saying that this FaZe was better than 2018 Astralis.
I
feel like that's the first step.
Well, I mean, for me, it's as simple as you win both majors, Katowice, Cologne, and the Grand Slam. Like, what more can you do?
Well, that's the thing.
They even won a season of Pro League in addition to all of that. It's like, for me, I always lean towards, you know, the most difficult events to win rather than just the amount of titles. Like, sure, Pro League is almost 1 million prize pool. Like, first place is a lot and you play a lot. But, you know, for me, Katowice and Cologne are above it by, you know, a big gap. So I would, on top of the events that are already there, the one that I would add would be the Royal Arena Blast event, right? Which they could still win. Like they're still, you know, they're still going to be there. So I think even without that, it's the best year.
This is the thing that I think is like an interesting idea to like try and build a story on. Does FaZe actually have the chance to overtake Astralis as the best team of all time? Like I know it's hard to kind of take something like that away, but I mean, if you look at it in which way you want, look at it by accomplishments. They're about to win all the most important events throughout the year. If they win both majors, they win Cologne, they win Katowice, they won a Pro League, and they win an Intel Grand Slam all in the same year, they can potentially go and win in Royal Arena. Then all of a sudden, are you sitting here and you're like, wow, how do we not say this is the best team of all time?
But there was a little bit more like longevity from Astralis, right? Like their three majors were back to back, and there is a fourth in the mix there as well with the core of the team, or 4 of the 5.
Yeah.
So when you sprinkle that, and obviously it's a bit of a false start with the initial major, but the way that it ends up going, right? Like they over a longer period of time picked up a lot of
okay. So would this set the stage for the conversation going into 2023?
If they win the next major, right? Then you just look at lineup to lineup. Right, you don't look at core. You look like 5 to 5 with the Magis situation. No Kyobi in that conversation with that major win. Just Magis that 5. Then you can start having that conversation. I think that even though Cologne and Katowice are weighted very heavily, that there also needs to be put into the conversation about, wasn't one of the majors that they won was Katowice, Astralis?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
The 2019 one.
Yeah, so then like that's like how they couldn't win both. That becomes like a sticky conversation.
They never won Cologne. That's an easy one.
Yeah, but still, like you were talking about volume of trophies or what they're worth, right? I still think like major trophies are worth the absolute most, and 4 out of 5 of those guys have 4 of them.
Okay.
FaZe only have 1. If they win this one, you could say that FaZe have they have the best calendar year of any team.
Yes, absolutely. I think that there's no question about that. Like if FaZe win. Only if it's just the major and they don't win like and fall finals or world finals, right? I think it's the best year a team has had in Counter-Strike, right? But to call them the best team ever, I think they would need to, you know, have some win some events. Definitely one of the majors, and you know probably one out of Katowice, Cologne, Copenhagen, right, and playing a couple of finals and so forth, right? It's hard to call them the best team of all time when it's just a one good year. that
But they're in the conversation with the elite level dynasties then, right? Like you can put, like, we obviously have Fnatic up there. You don't think so?
Ooh.
I think listen, the problem is just longevity, right? They're an amazing team, but you have to do it. I don't know. Like if you look at it, it's just one good year, right? Like
That was half of a good year at one point.
what?
Wasn't there half of a good year at one point for FaZe as an org? Wasn't it like when they won that New York event around that time?
Okay. You mean but I mean that's 5 years ago. That
Yeah,
was
but I mean when
2017.
I'm saying dynasty, like I'm talking about like with the org names, right? Like Fnatic, we're not. If we talk about Fnatic, we're definitely not talking about Fnatic of today, right? But they could still add trophies as an org. I guess.
Well, I mean, it's you talk about the org, but within the context of the lineup that was playing for the org, right?
You're talking
Yeah,
about
I mean,
like the eras, right? Like the year and a half that
Exactly,
Fnatic had,
yeah.
and like the year that the French had, and the Brazilian thing.
But you never talk. We never talk about a French era. There was
No,
never
we really
a French
don't. You're
era,
right.
right? So it's also because
Yeah,
it
fuck the
wasn't like.
French. My bad. What am I thinking?
All right, aggressive,
Wow.
of course.
Jason will not be at Blast Paris next year.
Got it. But I mean, it's all that. I think like the minimum is a year and a half, right? Like that
Okay.
you need to have to be, because there are a lot of tournaments. Let's say they perhaps don't win this major, but win the fall final and then win the Paris major and Katowice again, right? Like it's hard to make a case against them because also Cologne is going to be in the second half of the season next
Yeah,
year.
true.
That's gonna change things up a little bit, but yeah, I think it has to be more than a year before you call it a dynasty, an era, and whatnot. If it's just it's the best year that was that the team
The best calendar
has
year
ever
that ever
had,
was. Yeah.
right? But that's all it is until you do more.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because of the giants that have come in the past, we're always measuring by that, and that is like the very broad type of thing. I think the other thing, and it's not that it goes missed because we focus on it when the fucking game's alive, but is the Counter-Strike that's being played in the server and probably how far that has continued to come. And like the details for everybody, especially those who play, is just second nature at this point. But the amount that they have been pushing each other, like either knowingly or unknowingly, is fucking insane. Because everybody's work ethic, I feel, through COVID, it was like if we had an asteroid that hit Counter-Strike, it was COVID, because like everybody was having to be reborn in like this same kind of period, right? There was lethargy for those who were on the circuit, been doing it for those like 5 years, 6 years consecutively. First of all, lethargy from doing it for that long. Second of all, right, like online, everyone turns their nose up at online. It took the first like year of the online shit for people to start going, oh fuck, like this might be Counter-Strike forever, right? And then you had the people who just fucking grinded real hard and put in all the hours. And you see this, like, you see it reflected in interviews with some players. Like when I was talking to Dupree the other day, like he was saying like how fucking boppy it can be out there in the face-it pugs, just with the just the kids out there who are queuing and just grinding, not professionals, just these kids who fucking love it. Maybe they're trying to pursue being a professional or semi-professional or some shit, but the general Counter-Strike populace is mega sharp these days. I think the understanding of the game is fucking insane. And I don't know where this like ends. I guess the biggest thing is Source 2, and if that changes anything at all, right? But
yeah, that could be the next asteroid, so to speak.
True, actually.
Do you think?
The thing is,
yeah.
well, you're gonna pivot, Jason. So I just want to quickly. I was looking at the stats, right, for Astralis on LAN in 2018 and FaZe this year on LAN, and FaZe has already lost one map more than Astralis has in the entirety of that year. Like they were 126 and 38, and FaZe is 84 and 39 so far, with still a lot of games to be played, right? So Astralis was like more dominant in their wins, so to speak, but they failed a couple of times, like at key moments. They lose the semi-final of Katowice to FaZe. They lose the grand final in Sydney to FaZe in a best of 5 when FaZe was playing with a stand-in. They lose the grand final of Cologne to Navi, right? So there were these like different moments where things didn't really, pan out for them. Not to mention the Boston major, right? So it was after adding Magisk and getting on that run. They had like really good runs in their tournament wins. Like they would, maybe not even only drop a couple of maps. They wouldn't lose a series. But FaZe wasn't as dominant, as convincing, but they won like the biggest tournament so far in the year. So it's just, I guess it also depends on how you want to look at it, right? For me, it's always like, I don't care how you've done it if you won the event, right? Like that's all
Well,
that
but
matters.
that's
You're the one
but
who
that's
lifts the
because
trophy
those
at the end.
that's because those teams, they can't ever possibly meet each other, right? But this is what we do with like a lot of the talk and a lot of that shadow boxing is like if those two teams were in their prime facing each other, which could never have happened. But you're right in that sense. It's like the tournament that's in front of you. Like there's obviously teams that are going to look more dominant, but we can never measure like was the field equal, right? We can try and give it an eye test. We can give it our best guesstimation, but we can never unequivocally know, right, that one period of time was stronger than the other. I think that's one of the things as well when trying to measure these teams up against each other. But you can't fuck with the end of the day the result, right? Unless they got it through nefarious means. If you earned it, you won. You fucking won. So yeah, that's what we always end up in these bar type conversations. Messi,
like
Ronaldo. It. Yeah.
I like it. We don't have beers in front of us though, so that's kind of a problem for it.
Says who?
Empty coffee.
Good point.
cup.
Well, it is 11:30 for me. That's it's a bit late
That's
in the
a
day to
risky
get started.
time for you.
Yeah.
5:26 p.m. here.
I was gonna say, I mean, to kind of branch off your point, Chad, with Dupree saying like the young kids are hitting pretty hard these days. Do you think part of like the reason why so many of these like underdog or lower tier teams have like shown that they can challenge is because the meta has kind of shifted into a way where individually you can have more impact? If you like compare it back to like pre-COVID times, like the Astralis era, obviously very team focused, very utility focused, very execute focused. Now it seems like there's a greater team framework and individuals have so much freedom within that framework that it's really allowing these kind of young guns to show their capabilities in terms of raw talent and in terms of, you know, the different variety of individual plays they've had to develop throughout rising through the FPL ranks, throughout rising through the ranks of less organized and structured Counter-Strike. It feels like this meta is almost the perfect one to allow a lot of really young, really talented individuals to have an incredible amount of impact to what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I think with the type of events of Counter-Strike we have right now, if they have a good event, it looks like they had a good event, right? But this is where the problem has changed a lot. Is like before we would be measuring a really large sample size. Like Janko, you've just quoted the amount of games across the year, right? Like for Astralis back then. Do you think FaZe are going to hit that same amount of games this year, or do you think they'll be on less?
I think they'll be pretty close with major fall finals, world finals. They should be close. I'm not 100% sure.
But it's interesting, right? Because some of these like newer names or younger teams or younger players or academy players or whatever, it's so hard to really get a gauge of the type of player they can be consistently. Because I think for a lot of them, we've seen like peaks when they play really well. We've seen them when they play quite bad, and we've seen when they play pretty average, right? So I guess we should be taking that average right there as their general level. But there's so much that can be learned in a small period of time by a lot of these players. Like if they do end up getting like stage experience and they're downloading that at such a level and then coming back, are they able to handle it? What type of person? There's so many factors here, but I guess if you narrow in on the type of Counter-Strike we're talking about and the meta at the moment, I think there's just a general understanding that's a lot higher of what are good decisions to make. And then they have their own creativity on top of that with the fact that they're just fucking sharp. Like they're hitting everything, right? Like, and if you're in a game and you don't feel the pressure, which when you're going up against a team who has to qualify for the major because they're part of a massive organization and you're from an organization that nobody expects to get through, or you're like even just a fringe team, well, then I feel like, you know, you're going to play a little bit looser and then those shots are going to be flowing and then you feel in the game. Whereas then you measure that over the longevity of the teams who are playing consistently in the stage matches. And it's such a unique type of comparison to be making all the time where everybody has different yardsticks. But I don't know. I think that a lot of this comes with just the amount of willingness to learn and the amount of information that's out there for these players and the ways to grind and the level of just
the
average
tools
player
around
out there.
the game are pretty crazy these days compared to what they used to be.
Well, everybody's sharpening everybody else, right?
Yeah.
I think it's also a lot of stuff isn't really standardized, so to speak, in CS, right? Like this style, you know, style A defeats style B, but style B defeats style C, and style D defeats style A, right? And so on. But that's not really either. I don't want to say common knowledge, but as I said, like kind of standardized, right? So the meta is more free flowing because you can't plan for everything in CS. Like things happen so fast, you need to be able to react, and that's what separates the good players from the average players is how good they can react and adjust on the fly. And you want to give your players that freedom and for them to take that initiative, right? To take advantage of opportunities where they see them. But let's say that's a style that's best suited for the tier 1 teams and playing, each other and, trying to just be a little bit better and with a fewer less mistakes and taking advantage of some details. But, if you play a tier 3 team, that's probably something that you shouldn't do. Like, you should probably just play mostly by the book as a unit. Like, let's say on the CT side, go for more setups, right? Because the reaction of those players aren't going to be as maybe fast. I'm not saying, they won't understand that, they're playing for brackets, I might have a gap in apps to go out. It's just that sometimes it might be a couple of seconds a second or two too late. Sometimes they might not, want to go through a smoke, let's say, if it's there to go for that play, to trust their instincts, whatever, right? So I think the problem some of these teams make is like they're so used to playing tier 1 Counter-Strike and playing against like the really good teams that they don't know how to play against these. And I don't want to call them bad teams. They're not bad teams, but these teams that have puggy styles, right, that have like good players but don't have like amazing, team play. It's mostly reliant on running around and getting entries and, just playing balls out Counter-Strike, right? So I think that's the problem for them. Like some of these teams, they just forgot, some of the basics, so to speak, in terms of their preparation, right? I don't know if it's, the coaches maybe not doing a good enough job, or there's the in-game leader as well, right? The players just being unaware, hey, this is not FaZe or Navi or Vitality or, Heroic that we're playing against. This is, for example, Gamer Legion, right? Like they have good individuals, but, like we should just play a bit more cohesive, right? And a bit more by the book, and that's all there is to it. Just don't give them, gifts, don't give them free opportunities.
Yeah, because I think I see the definition between the play styles of Counter-Strike and understand how it can work, because having the shock and awe type Counter-Strike is one that would work for me. Like I think about games that I had where we either had like early leads or maybe even we went on to win them against teams that we were underdogs against. A lot of what I would be able to get away with early was like pattern calling, right? Like I would be able to call some pacier stuff or some more set execute stuff that if they didn't like, and as they're adjusting to what I just did, I'm like moving the pieces around a little bit. Like I'm already making a small adjustment on top of that, right? So I've just done like a Mirage, a short, a window, smoke, and just done a quick like B split real fast with some set flashes and go. And as they adjust to that, I've done the same smokes, but we've mixed it up and we've turned it into an A split instead, and we come through the connector smoke, right? We've just secured 2 gun rounds in the early game by playing something that's a little bit more, like doing a fast A split on Mirage, a set execute where everybody knows the timings is assuming that certain things don't go wrong and that certain people don't get picked off as things are happening. Like there's moments there that it's a coin toss, right? But if it works, it looks fucking brilliant. And then I think it's being able to settle back into different types of gameplay that was the biggest crutch. Well, like, you need to be able to go back into default CS. You need to be able to change the pace again.
That's a good example, because how do you defend and execute? Like there's 2 ways, basically. You play in front of it, right? So you don't get caught by the utility and the flashes are behind you and you're in front of the smokes and you stop them, before they get to the site. Or you let them have the site and you play retake, right? You try to get a cheeky kill or 2 as they're coming into the site, maybe a boost over the smoke, whatever, and you fall back and you chip away at them with utility, and you have some utility save for the retake to maybe smoke off a key choke point, molly off the second one, right? Like that's pretty basic. But, instead what you would see some teams do is they might even know that the other team likes to execute, or they might even just feel in this round that an execute is coming, but they're not making that adjustment. Like they're just stuck with, let's say, 1 or 2 guys inside and a third guy behind the smokes, and then they get caught by all the flashes, by all the smokes. Like they get smoked off, they get caught by the flashes, they get mollied out of position, and they die and they lose the site, and then you can't even go for a retake because you're already, a man or 2 down, and you just have to save. That's the frustrating part about watching some of these games. It's like this is Counter-Strike like 101 and you see teams that are, in the top 10 not reacting to things the way you're supposed to react.
Yeah, but and I guess that becomes when they are playing in more of these partnered against the bigger teams all the time, or prepping mainly for those teams. They are a bit more familiar with what level they should be getting, right? And that's the loop you find yourself in, and that's what you're saying is the difference between like a FaZe, who maybe they had some close matches. Sure, it was overtime. They fucking loved a close game, but they still got the job done, right? They withstood teams who were playing well because all of them ended up qualifying for the major. They were all playing good Counter-Strike during that event. The question with those teams is, will they play good Counter-Strike again? And there's no way for us to know, right? We know that it's possible for teams to have pop-off tournaments and like think about Spirit last time. That was fucking crazy, right?
That's wild.
But that right there makes us know that this is possible. So there's definitely some recipes of teams that exist, and some that are not as outside of the conversation as a team like Spirit, that if things come together, they can be fucking scary as fuck. Maybe they're not a complete team, but within the confines of this major, they get a couple of favorable matchups. They play some fantastic Counter-Strike against the big boys. There's a chance that there's names here that could go deep, which is why I think the conversation, right, that when I was talking about the broader storyline, sure, it's around FaZe, it's around the Grand Slam, it's about what we talked about before, potentially cementing the best calendar year out of any team, right? That's all a conversation, but they're not infallible. They can lose, and who can anyone turn online, right?
Tell me, Chad, why is Spirit scary? What makes them scary?
The fact that the unknown.
What?
It was the unknown of Spirit.
It was Dexter.
All right, but for me, what makes them scary even now, a team like Spirit, is they're fearless. They don't care. Like they don't feel the pressure. Like they play like the pressure doesn't exist. Like they have balls. And now that you made me think about
balls.
it, like absolutely, Jason. The bigger they are, the better. But the storyline for me, like for this major, is balls.
We'll run with that. Let's get it on the posters.
Like
balls.
Who's gonna have the most balls? Like, and whose balls are not going to shrink? In
it's
crunch
pretty warm
time.
in Rio, right? Everyone should be.
Right.
Yeah,
so that's the thing. Like, who's going to not get swallowed up by the pressure? Who's going to rise to the occasion? Right? Like, who's gonna not forget how to play fucking basic CS because they're in a 1-1 game at the major, in a best of one against a shit team who they're never supposed to lose to in their mind, but they're like 3-0 down because they lost pistol, and then they're playing just the 5 default positions on the map and not doing anything and not reacting to anything.
Yeah, okay, let's throw some names then though. You want to throw some names on that though, Yanko? So like FaZe and Na'Vi, okay. I assume you're saying they're not the type of team to shit the bed in that way, right?
No.
Their balls don't shrink.
Let's go down the list. Vitality.
They can have a little shrinkage, I'm not going to lie.
Vitality is like, you have not as much, but for Vitality's problem is like Spinks. He can disappear in some like big game like that. But the other guys are like too experienced, and Zaiwu is too level-headed that doesn't impact them. So they should still be fine.
Should be able to grind
for the
it
most
out.
part, yeah.
Okay. Liquid.
They definitely can. They can definitely have a tough. I mean, we saw it as well. I mean, it might be something as individualistic as OC having a really bad run. But we know they've been plagued, and I don't know if any of you are sold on the idea that they no longer have those mentality problems, but I'm not quite there yet. So
who was the last worst team they lost to? Eternal Fire.
Yeah.
But that's when they kind of had that
and
rising.
they definitely shrunk in that match. They definitely didn't know how to handle it. They got a little. They got shook on that Inferno.
This is where, Jason, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is a match like that the catalyst for a team like this? Right? It's like, the narrative from the camp coming out of that was like, yeah, after that loss we had a chat, we got our shit together. So do you use that game now as a catalyst to put them on the runway, or do you say, you frame it as there's chance for break here, this could crop up again? Or do you think now that they're on the correct trajectory going into the major?
I think they're very much. I took that as a very good sign that they had that conversation going into the playoffs and really just had like a heart-to-heart with the team, and they snapped it around and made it all the way to the finals and had a chance to even win the finals. But I'm not sold that those issues can't crop up again, especially when you add the pressure of the Rio Major, the biggest event. Especially when
the backbone of the team's there, Jason. Just I want to poke you on
Okay.
some of this stuff. So the backbone of the team is there. It's a very strong backbone.
Yeah.
Why do you think the pressure of the Rio Major would get to them compared to other events?
Because I think, well, first of all, as we say, it's a strong backbone in terms of its experience, but that's a strong backbone that itself showed that it could really break in historically speaking.
So it's all on your Kinder then, really.
No, I think a lot of it's on Kinder, but I think he's a little bit of a double-edged sword at the moment because if you watch at Pro League,
Yes.
he was so, especially to start things out when they came over to North America and the conversation around the team was how rusty they were. He was really overextending and really trying to make up for some of that rustiness, and I think that can get punished in a big way, especially if teams look into it. Like if you think on Inferno, how many times he solo took Banana, like the idea that that's going to be happening on a huge stage time and time again, the way that he was doing it in Pro League, I think that's a little bit far-fetched. So I think there's some ways that teams can punish Kinder, but also a lot of those problems crept up due to the fact that OC had a really slow start into Pro League and had it was I mean, let's just say terrible throughout the group stage of Pro League. So if you have one individual missing, yeah, it's not, they have the players individually to pick up that pace, but that's, especially if it's your opper, it can cause so much disorganization and lack of confidence that can spread very, very quickly. And the major isn't really an event, it feels like, where you can have, slow starts and then a conversation to snap back into it. So I think the potential's there. I don't think we'll see any of that from Liquid. I have them as a playoff team. I don't think we're going to see them collapse, but let's not lie and say that it's not entirely a possibility because we've seen it happen within this team and within this core plenty of times in the past.
So it's they're susceptible to the mental collapse. That is a concern. But other than that, right, we're framing Liquid pretty positively, I would imagine,
Yes.
right? And bringing back in what I said before, this is another team that this side of the season is yet to play against FaZe. They have played against Na'Vi, however, and I think they got fucking dumpstered by Na'Vi. I think with Vitality versus Na'Vi, they've kind of split it because I'm just using this point about the ball shrinkage, Yanko. I want to.
Yes.
We're constantly using the balls here, so we got the balls on our hands.
Absolutely.
But we've said that people with balls that are going to be fine no matter the weather conditions are Na'Vi and FaZe right now. So it's good to return to them as reference points. But for Vitality, there's a chance for a little bit of shrinkage from Spinks potentially. But the backbone of the team, there's 2 players and a coach there who have won multiple majors and Apex as well in that conversation. And ZywOo is fucking ZywOo, right? So we feel that they're quite strong. But then Liquid,
like Vitality is Spinks is like broken phase, right? Like he can have great games, but I would say it's more required of Spinks for Vitality than it is of broken phase. But it's a good environment in terms of, you have a lot of experienced veterans next to you that's going to make everything easier and you don't feel that pressure as much. So it's a good opportunity for him to just actually have a breakout tournament. And, let's say if Spinks has a breakout tournament and ZywOo keeps playing on a high level, then Vitality is, a very, very, very legitimate contender.
so
Also,
and that's
the thing that helps
Yeah?
Spinks, I think, the most on that team is just, I think, probably the best quality of ZywOo is that no matter what's happening, homeboy quietly just puts up 1.5 ratings, like it's not a big deal. Like you don't even notice it's happening. He's so I feel immune to.
Maybe you should watch the game a little bit more closely, Jason.
No, but I will. There are games where I'm casting and I'm like, holy fuck, ZywOo's got 26 kills. When did this happen? It just he just grabs his 1 or 2, and a lot of times they aren't even super flashy. But I think having a player like ZywOo that is just so incredibly consistent at how incredibly he plays is massive. And I think that's something, for instance, that Liquid doesn't have, is that player that is just going to be consistently delivering a high-end performance regardless of what's happening otherwise.
If they hit a 3-0, right? If they get themselves, well, I guess they're already in the legend stage, right? But if they get themselves straight into the playoffs just with a quick 3-0, and they're in the arena and everything's high and your Kinder's, because this is the thing, this whole conversation for me, if we're going to take the different pieces of the use, and I look to you, Jason, here and what we've seen from Liquid in the past, mentally speaking, it does look like they can be extremely fragile. That's something that will plague the team as a narrative until they become a championship caliber team, right? But they do have a lot of experience in those positions. So when you're looking at the possibility for things to go right, there are a lot of things that you can put in the column, right? But there's always this chance. So in the back of our mind, this fucking booby trap's always there.
I think there's a lot of teams that have it, and it's probably one of the things that worries me the most with certain teams is Liquid.
It's same as G2.
Yeah, they have a propensity to play up to their opponents and play down to their opponents. They play at their opponent's level. They don't dictate the level of Counter-Strike that is being played. Not quite yet, at least from what I can tell. And that always very much scares me. with
But
teams.
is there another team who isn't in the top, those other three names that we mentioned, Vitality, FaZe, and Na'Vi? Is there another team outside of, and we're not talking about G2 and Astralis because they're not here, but this is for either of you. Is there another team that, like, if they hit, if they're on that heater and the mood's good, like, are there any names that we think can win the major? And you guys might go, well, if everybody's playing their 100%, then anybody can win. But like within a puncher's chance here, like, is there anybody who we think if the mood's high and things are going well, like, is Liquid that team? Because for me, I feel
Liquid
like they
can.
are.
I think they
have so much firepower here.
I think a puncher's chance is a good way to put it. I think from our last episode, Yanko would disagree with that. I think I'd also say another team that I think Yanko will disagree with is Cloud9.
But we're saying things are going right, though, Yanko, right?
It's
like,
Cloud9.
even if all the things go right.
But why do you think things would go right for them?
But I'm just saying, I'm not saying they will.
I understand. But we're talking hypotheticals when we have reality.
But it can happen though, right? Like, there's a chance it can happen. We've seen with majors in the past.
All right, let's go to La La Land then and talk about it.
Well, like
we were talking about Cloud9 before they won Boston, right?
I'll go with it. Oh, that's where you want to take it.
No, but even like Immortals versus Gambit, for example, that was another final that nobody saw coming. Like
Avangard in Berlin.
Because I think the fact that we did have FaZe versus Na'Vi as the way it worked last time is pretty rare, right? Think about the amount of times.
And then the Na'Vi G2 before that.
Yeah, but think about the amount of times that it's missed the mark, and the final hasn't given us two or two of the teams that we want to see as contender names. Like, that happened a lot in our past. That was basically most of the finals Astralis played, right? Like, they would already have dealt with their biggest nemesis a little bit earlier, or they'd been dealt with by someone else, and then they just beat whoever the fuck came to the final, and we were like, can we just make this a quick 2-0 and go home because we know Astralis is going to win, right? Like, that became it for us, but we're not there now. So I want to, like, live in this world where there is a chance, because exploring these things is important, right? Like, I don't want to be behind the cart here. I'm happy to pull this cart from... We know the negatives. Everybody at home knows the shit that could fall apart. I'm trying to look here. Does this team truly have the opportunity? And I don't want to give it the platitude of, if everybody plays 100%, then everybody can win. Like, I want to explore here if we think that Liquid could win. Like, are they not there yet? Like, is that truly what you think? That they're not there yet, then they can't get there? Can they get there? Is this a team that even has that championship level potential to you, Yanko?
I think they have the potential, but the thing is, obviously, if we're talking about an upset, right, like, we're talking about teams that are not there yet, because if we thought they were, we would put them up there with FaZe, Na'Vi, and Vitality, right? So that goes.
But this is the question about Vitality. Like, just, I'm not trying to, like, I could poke holes in Vitality at the moment if you wanted me to.
Yeah, of course. Like, they're not as. I wouldn't put them as the number one team in the world. I don't think so, but I don't want to talk about them. Like, I want to say, to answer your question, actually, I would put maybe two teams that I would potentially put there would be Outsiders, because I like how they play.
Oh, well,
but I don't like the fact that they've, I think, choked a game or two at the RMR, and like,
games they should put away, they didn't close.
Yeah, and also, like, the way they lost them, you could tell that they were just probably too much chaos. But also, those games having already happened might have been, like, a great lesson for the actual major.
And they just won Rotterdam as well, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I would, if someone else, Heroic, because, like, Stone is a legit, like, superstar player, right? And Cadian seems to have had in the last month better performances. Like, that's always the problem for Heroic. Yes. Like, their AWPer is nowhere near as good as the other contender teams. But if he can play, like, above average, above his level for the major, and Yabi kind of finds some consistency, then, they can be a dark horse because of that. Like, I feel like they're a team that could maybe ride some momentum. If they get, like, a Na'Vi in quarterfinals and beat Na'Vi, and then not have as difficult of an opponent in the semifinal, they can ride that momentum to win, like, the whole thing, potentially, right? Because, you could play Friday, Saturday, Sunday in 3 days, win 3 series, and, leave the trophy.
Yeah, I think that the names you've thrown in the mix, there are names that I guess I'm just going broader than you. Like, I don't know, I'm not really in, like, a mega optimistic mood at the moment, right? Like, I'm not in a happy way.
What do you mean broader than me? Who would you, like, who would you say?
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm looking at Liquid as a team right now who are ranked in the top 4 and going, how could this team win, right? Like, and I'm trying to.
So I was supposed to be the negative one.
No, I'm not being negative. I mean, like, just my general mood at the moment is pretty negative, but not around looking at around these teams, right? Like, I think with what you said about outsiders, I think that they're in a nice progression, right? Should they win? No, probably not. But if like other teams get caught sleeping or whatever, and they can grind out some games, if it goes super late, they take some teams out to deep water. This type of team can finish them, right? Then I know you're also not like a Cloud9 lover here, but it's the same kind of thing, right? And this is where the narratives for each team is at a different point. We've mentioned this before too. Like for Cloud9, I think for last major, I said like they're primed to go for a big deep run, right? As long as this is the point where this team has to start showing they get the shit together. And then they have the fuck up with the whole nuke debacle, with that going through in the veto. Then there's all the controversy around Hobbit at the time as well, which would have had minds a bit scattered. Is he going to get banned? What the fuck's going to happen with him? Right. So I don't want to throw those in as like key excuses for them. But then they went on. They won Dallas, and this is a team now. It's like the same situation. Okay, they look to play like the best standard line of Counter-Strike we have. And now it's about those mix-ins, mate. They've gone to fucking McDonald's. They've got their McFlurry. And guess what? Nafany's not the type of guy who just wants fucking Oreos. He wants Oreos, M&Ms, and the fucking caramel sauce, right? They need the Axel and the Shiro to be creative out of the boot. Like, that's where I don't know if it's going to taste good. But my point is, right, it can't just be vanilla, right? They have to... They can play their game against everybody. And that's why a lot of Cloud9 games that I seem to watch always go deep, right? It's always like a 16-12 or a 16-14, just because of the way that they play the game. They're going to save. They love a good save, these boys. They fucking they'll always get one in there. So the opponent, what I'm saying, is going to maybe in some of these matches get more rounds than they probably should, and the score looks a bit more inflated. What should have been like a 16-6 stomp if they took some risks and trusted their individuals, as opposed to following Groove's 17 laws of Counter-Strike, right? And I'm not saying they should take those risks, because that's the reason I think Cloud9 get to be as consistent as they are in a lot of these games. But they need like, because Counter-Strike, you can talk about it's about minimizing risks, but it's also about making the right ones. And that's
absolutely.
And that's the team with Cloud9, where they need to learn when is the time to make those right risks and who are going to be those people to step up in those moments. That's the difference maker for a team like Cloud9. Can they play the caliber of Counter-Strike to win an event? Yeah, they can. They did earlier in the year. Guess what? They've also beaten FaZe twice. They beat FaZe at EPO and they beat FaZe in Dallas. Now, there's different little things that you can stick and tack onto both of those, sure, but Cloud9 have done that. Whereas I referenced Vitality and I referenced Liquid, they haven't even played FaZe this half of the season. We don't even know how that matchup would go. But we at least have some kind of tangible evidence that Cloud9 are a team in a matchup that could beat FaZe, right? So I can build Cloud9 up in this conversation. Now I'm starting to get towards the end of the barrel. Like I don't think Mals are much chop, man. They get a lot of sauce, but I don't think they're much chop. I think they can play a good style of Counter-Strike, but
experienced.
They just don't show up like exciting enough when they need to.
Cloud9 hasn't played Navi this year?
I think that was something that was said before as well. You might be... Did you checking this right now?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Statement?
I'm trying to make sure I'm not insane. They haven't played Navi in 2022.
Yeah, I think I saw that on Reddit the other day or something maybe. But yeah, like that is crazy because that was like the go-to matchup in was it early 21, right?
Yeah.
Like that's when Cloud9 was
I feel like I'm insane. I feel like that can't be true.
Yeah, because start of 2020 was when Fnatic won the EPL, right? And then start of 2021 was where like Gambit was considered the best team in the world or something like that. I think I forget exactly, but anyway, that's when they were on their rise.
Yeah,
they won Katowice in 2021. Yeah, and they played against them in like a DreamHack event and shit. It's all coming back to me. Hopefully, maybe I don't know. But yeah, that's strange to have not had that. That'd be another cool, fun matchup to have.
I was thinking because it'd be cool if we had like another one of those like triangle setups, like kind of how Yanko alluded to earlier, where like Team A beats Team B beats Team C beats Team A, and then like with FaZe, Navi, and Cloud9, that'd be really sick coming into this event. So I was kind of hoping for that, but it's just not there. I mean, this one's going to be too early maybe to judge it, but just based off what we saw so quickly, NIP.
Have to be god tier honeymoon, right?
That would have to be the best honeymoon that the world has ever seen.
And Raz would have to be like simple Zyval level of opera, just hidden away, not being unleashed, right?
What would you do if you were Alexi B and you win the major? What would be?
Well, that's a personal storyline that a lot of people are behind, right? A lot of people can get behind this from all different walks of life. Like people who didn't like the fact that he got dropped from G2, sorry. You've got like the fans from back in the Finnish days. There's a lot of people who are like Alexi B fans. And I saw this storyline like crop up for a lot of people. It was like Alexi winning the major and G2 not even being there. Like people replying with that shit. I'm like, fucking hell. You guys are out for blood here. But that would be wild. Now, this is one of those crazy Cinderella from outside of nowhere storylines, and it shouldn't happen. I don't think they have a complete team yet. It shouldn't happen, but like crazier things have happened and will continue to happen. But it would have to be like the greatest honeymoon of all time. Like, and Yanko's right. Like, Rez will have to AWP like one of the best AWPers in the world. Can he do that for an event?
Yeah.
Well,
that's
and Hashtag will have to support his ass off.
Like Logic says no, but you know this is the thing. Like this is what's crazy, because I was gonna kind of bring up a similar kind of madness angle here. You talk about any Brazilian team, like Fury are the top dog, but you talk about Imperial or 0-0 Nation. Let's just say for whatever reason they're fucking feeling it. The crowd is like, how much is the crowd gonna propel these guys? Because like that, I can't put that magic in a bottle for you. Is it?
Well,
I don't.
Here's the question: isn't how much can the crowd propel them, as how much it can make the ball shrink for the other team.
You think that's
Back to
more?
the
It's
balls.
more of a
Back to the
deterrent
balls.
for the balls.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it might be something like that. Like some of these players, we have to remember. Like from the challenger stage, we're gonna have crowd. You know, and games in the crowd. Like some of these players have never seen 3,000-4,000 screaming fans cheering against them. You know,
And Brazilians
Like
will be cheering against you.
every kill, like no matter what happens, you know, when so that's
If you
I think
miss
is
a
going to
nade,
be
they'll be cheering
a bigger factor. They're going to be laughing, screaming, all the good stuff.
Okay, so all right, that's an interesting.
I don't
angle.
think the crowd could propel a Brazilian team to make any kind of crazy deep run towards the trophy. But I think, like Yanko's saying, that the difference of the crowd being there from day one, it could be the difference between, for instance, an Imperial who doesn't look great making it into the Legend stage. Like that could certainly happen in my mind.
Okay, so we think that there's enough magic to get teams further than they probably should, but not enough to take it the whole way.
I don't
Yes.
have confidence in basically any Brazilian team to go deep into the playoffs. I think the most that the Brazilian teams are going to get is a quarterfinal and a loss in the quarterfinals.
Okay, so this is the thing. Like, I haven't become superstitious. I don't believe in magic. I'm not looking at the fucking star signs and all this kind of stuff going on. But there's always a fucking event, boys. And it just feels like there's something in my loins. I'm not saying it'll be the Brazilians. I don't know who it'll be. Right? It might be like when Emulate won, was it ESWC or whatever the fuck it was.
ESWC, yeah.
It might be
Against
just one of
Sonic.
these anomaly type events where something crazy just fucking happens.
WCG.
I might be wrong. I probably will be wrong. The odds say that I will be wrong, but I don't know why. It's just, and that's the thing. If I knew which team it was going to be, then there'd be a
Chad.
reason.
I'm so disappointed in you.
Why?
Because you've taken the Anders route. Like you're going with something outrageous just so that, you know, if you're right, you're gonna sound like a genius. But if
No,
you're
but
wrong,
I'm
no
not
one's
putting a
even gonna
name on
remember.
here. There's no name coming down, Yank. I'm not
just
fucking.
with you.
I'm not gonna go that mental. I just think
Never
like,
go full Anders.
I just think that the landscape at the moment and the way that it is kind of all coming together puts us in a situation where this is more possible than it's been in previous years.
Well, it's also, how do you call it, the law of odds or whatever, right? Like we've had things go by the book, so to speak, in the playoffs for the last two majors, right? Like for it to happen a third time in a row, just the chances of it, you know, it's going to be tough. And on top of that, like you said, these favorites aren't looking as convincing as they've had before. So, you know, I think the odds are more in your favor than you may think.
But this is why it's fun. We still have the key storylines. We still have the favorites, but we have so much opportunity for this to be nuts. And Yanko, you're a man of fine arts and other cool things. I know that you've probably been watching some of the TI lately.
Yeah, a little bit.
Some of the games. Some of the games have
That's
been.
a no. That's an oh shit. What's he gonna ask me next?
Well, I won't ask him any particulars here, but
Cute, Jace.
I like watching. I thought you liked Dota.
I do, but you know, I've just been.
He was away in a
lifing a
cabin
little
in the
bit.
woods this past
Exactly,
weekend.
yeah.
He didn't
Yeah,
have time
Oh
to do that.
exactly.
man. Well, I've been watching on my
I
own
was eating
anyway.
fucking roast lamb.
My My bad.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
I was in no cabin anywhere, but I've just been waking up in the mornings. I was a bit sad this morning when I got up and there was no fucking Dota on. Obviously, they have a break before their finals are on, right? It's not obviously. Apparently, that's changed. But anyway, and it's been some of the closeness of some of these matches. It's been really fun to watch, and it's fucking hype. Like haven't played Dota in years, but it's something that I understand the concept and you know, very loosely. But it can be fucking hype. I'm kind of hoping we get the event where it delivers throughout. Like I'd love if we could get some just like fucking hype games every day of the week, just by the nature of this crowd as well. Because that's another thing. Like crowd Counter-Strike, it makes you play a different type of Counter-Strike in my mind. Like you're more susceptible to do the wrong play, right? But if you can embrace that correctly on the stage, and then you're a bit more like momentum based, or taking these gaps or taking this space or whatever, I think you have a harder time on the stage playing your perfect Counter-Strike. You're not going to hear all the footsteps, right? Like, well, maybe you will. I don't know. How good are the headsets?
No, if you're at TI, you might even hear the casters.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some controversy there.
Bloody hell!
Yeah, they've had a rough TI, I think this go around.
Yeah, I think like the expectation for the start seemed pretty high with like the last chance qualifier and stuff, but it's significantly ramped up from like those stages into this next stage, and then there's a couple of teething issues. Obviously, they normally do booths, right? But this time around, they were doing open ear stuff, which I think is a little bit different for TI. And then I assume it ramps up again for the next week of play. I don't know. I'm making some bold assumptions here, but it's a long event. The old TI.
I just saw the prize pool is way less than.
Isn't that community contributed to though?
I think
Yeah.
they.
I
That
don't
means the
know
community,
why.
right?
I think they changed something with the way the compendium worked this year that people weren't super in love with. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me.
Okay. I didn't see that conversation. You could be bang on. I guess it would be important to ask somebody from Dota about that. But I think, like, what are we talking for prize money? Was it 17 million for this one? Last time around it was like 40 million or some shit.
17 and a half so far, and
Holy
last
shit,
one
that
was
drop off
40
is
million.
crazy.
But don't they
Yeah.
get in-game items as well for the players?
I think, do they do it like League of Legends where you get like the in-game skin for the lineup that you won the tournament with, the trophy with?
They got voice lines for casters. I know that much. But
That's
I
pretty
don't. Yeah, I guess. I know that our dad doesn't show us any love, Jason, but I can tell you he does.
It's
you
okay.
know?
No, I don't.
Their dad's giving them nice shiny things, but
I don't mind the no.
Our dad's giving us freedom.
I don't mind the no caster lines in the game. I think that'd be weird in Counter-Strike.
I agree.
There's so much
Where
more.
would it be used?
Yeah, exactly. Like in the average game, there's so much more that goes on throughout Dota with some breathing room around it. I think in Counter-Strike, if you just randomly had the SPUNJ quote just come out of nowhere, an Anders quote or a Moses quote, it'd be like, what the fuck is this? I'm trying to play the game.
Yeah.
So
Because also they use it again like as shit talk. They use voice lines as shit talk in Dota to each other. It's fucking cool.
Oh, do they? Okay, nice. Yeah. See, that makes a little bit more sense. You can't really do that. Maybe if they gave us like I don't know. Maybe if you won the game, you could activate like the Moses trap card, and he would just teabag your opponent's dead body for like an extra 5 seconds. I'd be down for that.
Bloody hell. It's an interesting. I know that I see people like ask the question, why don't we have it? But I think
I'll
the
take
answer
stickers. I'm fine with stickers. You know,
Well, it's the
I'm
same
not
answer
I'm
that
not a
we've
greedy
always
man.
had, right? Is that like Valve are the ones who, at least as
Yeah.
far as we believe, are the ones who are in
Hire
charge
the
of
talent.
hiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for the Valve CS:GO majors, it's the TO themselves, right? So it's been a cause of controversy over the years, isn't it? Fun stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
do we want to? We're kind of hitting up to the time. Not that we have to do a hard stop, but did you see the any thoughts on the Kirby news?
He's been gone for a while, right? And this
What
is
a
just
bombshell
this is
to
just
end it
releasing
with.
him.
He just 4 months in endpoint, and he's just releasing. Let's see.
Well, he wants to go play on Config's new team.
The organization
it's gonna be
said
MSL, Config, Gade.
that Dane is going through some
And
things in his
AZ.
personal life that he needs to attend to, and therefore he feels he cannot currently deliver the top performance level a pro CS player should deliver.
Oh, I didn't read that much. Well, that's fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot
I
of
don't
interest
either.
on that. I was more excited to see this like Fluxo team winning last night. It's still
Valve's
always remember that Henny's made. So I hope that Henny ends back up on Furia. If Furia bottle this at this event,
I
they
don't.
should get Henny back.
I want there to be consequences to his decisions.
No,
I
bring him
want
back,
Art
Jason.
to be removed.
No, he's made too many bad decisions. I'm done. I don't, whatever.
Yanko wants Art to go. I want Henny to come back. Maybe there's some middle ground we can find here.
I'm excited for them because for two people. I'm happy to see Phelps have that success because I think he's had like an odd career considering he was in and out with like the old legendary core of the Brazilians.
The star that never was.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of skills. And then I'm happy for VSM as well, who had that he was banned from the majors, right? For like,
It was the back ban.
yeah, from like
cheating.
way back when he was like 13 or 14. That doesn't bother me, man. He was 13.
No, I
or
know.
something.
I just want to make sure people understand, you know.
Yeah, so I think he was one of the ones that he's obviously unbanned, but I'm just happy from where he at one point thought his career was just like done, and he was someone that the Brazilians universally pointed to as a player with potential. So I'm happy to see him have some success too.
That was the same with Cello, Yanko. I remember you made a tweet about that, but that conversation back like when Cello first kind of came out on the scene was he was meant to be the next
We were on the desk together then. Do you remember that event?
Yeah, I remember that conversation that we had a lot. And I remember it kind of got like reaffirmed by people around the team. So it wasn't just like, you know, it wasn't
Us
just like,
being
yeah. I remember that.
Maybe on
But
a yeah.
Yeah?
I was gonna say on a bigger picture that Fluxo win or whatever they're what with that whole qualifier in North America for the Blast Showdown, how does this change your opinion on the EGs and the Coles in any significant way to see them?
Well, for Cole, it doesn't matter. Like, imagine trying to be motivated.
Yeah.
I imagine that's hard. Like, in my picture-perfect world, I would want to be motivated because it means we can go play in an arena after bottling the chance to play at the major. However, I imagine bringing yourself to do that while you wake up and you see all these fucks posting their stickers all over fucking Twitter, that it can be quite hard.
Fuck it, man. Use it as fuel. Like, you have to have... If you want to be successful in Counter-Strike, you have to have short-term memory. Like, you can't let, the tough losses and the failings, like, keep on. It's almost like poker, right? Like, you have to be able to reset and move on. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen now? Now they're probably, like, even more depressed, and now they're going to start talking about making changes when they were on the upwards trajectory.
Sure,
right?
I can see
like,
that.
For a team like Complexity, sure, you have to, you could have made the major. You shat the bed, like you had all the opportunity to make it there, right? But you're a team that if you're in a position where you can play at fall finals, you absolutely need to be all in for that, and you need to have players on that team who are going to have that sort of an attitude instead of getting all emo, because up until that, you couldn't, like, all you could do is qualify for, like, Cologne play-in and then just lose 2 games and not make it, right? So you need to have that perspective and be aware of how do you keep improving and keep getting to that next level. So, but we're being way too nice to these players and these teams. Like, no, but I'm serious. Like, what, why do you sympathize? Like, why do you think that's fine? Like, they can't get themselves motivated, or they wake up and look at the stickers. It's like, dude, they're getting paid handsomely, right? They're not amazing at this game that they've had just a crushing loss. It's like you're in a position where there's 10 other teams in the same position as you, and there's like 2 spots at every tournament for those 10 teams.
But I don't know, Yanko. I see this as the issue that crops up, and I'm not saying this is complexity here. And I get what you're saying, but it's like some people are just there, for the job. Maybe they're competitors and they want to play and everything too. But some people are comfortable just being okay. I'm not saying complexity are, and I'm not trying to be too nice to the players here. I'm just thinking like. I know. I'm putting on the quitter's hat right now. I'm talking from somebody with a bit of a quitter's hat on. Because I agree with you, right? Like, you're right. If you want to be the best at something, you want to be a champion at something, then any opportunity you get, you should be pursuing with everything you've got. And if that's the case, if they were in that mindset and then they lost here, then it's even more crushing. And then maybe they actually should change roster. But if they had the mindset that I was talking about and they were already heartbroken and they couldn't focus and then they went into it and they weren't giving it the all and they weren't really there as a team, then that's disappointing from that perspective. So either way, it's kind of fucked for them. The loss is like a really bad loss to have considering the kind words we were giving them after the fact, right? And you're right. Like, now maybe that changes. Like, do you feel like going into this event, who were they the favorite? Who was the favorite of this bracket?
Complexity and EG, we said. We just looked at it.
No, I didn't say. I thought Complexity was going to fuck it up. I thought EG might do it because it's online, and I don't know who else.
Double O Nation was in there.
We said, but doesn't matter. Like, for me, it's just about the like this whole like the mentality thing. It's like I don't give a fuck about complexity, like as a team, you know. But this conversation where it's like that's where, you know, the coach comes in and the structure that you have, you know, it's a tough loss, of course it is, like, and it sucks, but you need to have mechanisms to cope with that. Maybe you do like a bit of a team building like one day or a workshop or whatever it is where you kind of make it around showing the players in a sort of a fun way, like perspective, and, you know, this loss and not being at the major, no matter how disheartening it is and how much it sucks, look at like the whole year, the whole calendar, like the opportunities that we have, where we were, some of the tougher losses we've had before, and how we managed to battle back, and so on and so on, and try to put your team in a position to succeed, really, right? If you're just sitting there and letting it, like, you know, soak, and players are sulking, and, you know, everyone shows up and you're practicing, but you can tell people's hearts are not in it, well, then you're just doing a disservice to yourself. Like, you need to be better than, you can't complain after the fact, you know, oh, we lost, right? It's like you have to do, like, no one cares. No one cares. Just keep, you know, what's the fucking quote? Like, no one cares, do better, or whatever. No one cares, keep working, right? Like, people only care about results. It's like everyone's having it. Why would you ever think it's gonna be easy? Of course it's gonna be hard. Otherwise, everyone would be a fucking champion all the time. Or every player would be the best player. No, it's because, like, it's so difficult that you have teams and players who put in more work, better work, who are able to mentally reset, who eventually come out on top. You're either going to accept that and strive towards that, or you're just going to be fucking average your whole career. That's it.
Well,
Yeah, but that's like a
Serbian
micro
mentality
moment right
in there. Yeah, it really is.
No, but it like in a competitive mentality, that's the right mentality, right? Like I understand there's more than one way to skin a cat and whatnot, but like this is the thing, and it's like this isn't an excuse for people, but like the people who are great at things are normally hyper obsessed, right? And they're like everyone's fucked up. We're all fucked up, but like the people who are like that are uniquely fucked up, right? They're obsessed about something, or they have a certain way of doing something, or their brain functions in a certain different way, and that's just kind of what separates them from the pack. Like when you look at the fact that now we get all these like sports documentaries talking about the greats, you have somebody like Mike Tyson who was like basically indoctrinated right into how he had to think, and just he was this fucking monster. And then you have somebody where you look at like Tiger Woods, who, since like the age of 3, he was out on the fucking golf course learning how to be a golfer because that's what his dad had in store for him. And then you have somebody like, I don't know, who's Michael Jordan. We learned about his mindset and how hyper competitive he was. And he was always betting on everything, like fucking tossing coins and trying to get them next to a wall. Yeah, so like all of these people, and like they're the greats that we're talking about. And if you want to try and achieve that, but I think for every great, right? Think about everybody else in all these other leagues. Like I'm not trying to be like sympathizing with the bitch mentality. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying that there's certain people who are out here just because they're extremely talented and good at something, and maybe they can just get the paycheck.
No, but I understand, Chad. Like, you know, for me, of course, no one can be as good as Simple is, right? No matter how much you put the work in, right? For me, it's just a matter of like we are in a competition, right? So I want to see you strive to be the best, even though you might not ever achieve it, but at least you're putting in the effort. Like, you know, all those players that you mentioned, these are not individual sports, like it's team sports, and they had great teammates around them, and they had great role players on their teams that, you know, fulfilled a certain role and helped the team win in any which way. But, you know, for someone to sit there and say, oh, well, I mean, you know, we just lost that tough game against Imperial, so, you know, like things are a bit tough right now. It's like, I don't care, man. Like, I really don't. Like, just play, you know, do your best. Try to do your best. You don't have that luxury to, you know, slip up like that. It's not necessarily about complexity specifically, right? It's just that, you know, we're in a business of competition, and if you are trying to improve and really doing your best, like for me, that's all I want to see. But if you're there sitting and like stealing paychecks or whatnot and just like kind of coasting through it, then I don't care for you. You know, I'll talk about you when I have to, and I'll say my piece, and that's it. I have no interest in you whatsoever.
I have a solution to this.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, Chad. If we move it so that the RMR is directly before the major, then we don't ever have to have these bullshit conversations on what a team's like mentality is off of a devastating loss.
But then how are we gonna know
That's
how
it.
bad
That's
how
it.
bad their mentality is?
I'd rather talk about the Counter-Strike that was being played. I'd rather talk about how good or bad a team played. I don't want to come into this and say, yeah, but they were so devastated after the major. They're watching stickers pop up on Twitter. That's like a, I don't know. That's a silly conversation for me to where it's
Don't
just
choke, and then you would have your stickers in the game.
Yeah,
perhaps.
well,
Someone's always gonna lose though.
yeah, but if you put the think of it this way, if the
Why
blast
don't we just give everybody a fucking
if the
sticker?
blast showdown
We should give less stickers.
if the showdown was before the RMR and they lost, you still look at the major and say, this is the biggest event of the year. So you don't have to have the conversation of how demoralized you are after such an incredible loss, because you're still competing for the biggest event of the year. The
Well,
fact
just
that
be solved. It would just be solved if it was at the end of the fucking year, right? That Yanko said before as
yeah,
well.
but you know, we can't have everything perfect.
It's also, I mean,
There's always got to be some
I'm
stupid issue we have to work around.
I'm also probably, I mean, I'm being probably a bit too harsh, but it's also because, you know, like you're a salaried player on a professional team, having like all the, you know, facility support that you might need. Like there's players out there who have it way more difficult, who are playing in worse conditions for less money, who are achieving better results and having more success because of absolutely nothing except for their like hard work and the dedication and just, you know, figuring things out in a better way, and also probably being stronger mentally. You know, like this is not a hard job that we're having. Like this is it's a privilege and, you know, a luxury to be able to live off of Counter-Strike, right? So whenever I hear people like say, oh, it's like just so hard and this, it's like, get the fuck out. Like I just stopped listening to that. You
But
know,
that's why I have
losses
a hard
are
time
tough.
with the
Losses
North
are
American
rough. Yeah,
side,
it
Yanko.
fucking, I have it too. I had that argument with, I don't know if it was a podcast or whatnot. It's like, that's why you have more successful, you know, CIS teams in general. Because it's life-changing money if you're like a number one in CS for anyone from whether it's Russia or Ukraine or Belarus or, you know, Eastern Europe, even from people from the Balkan region, right? Like it's life-changing money. And that's, I remember what it was about. It was about people saying, if I don't get salaried like 6,000, you know, why would I play ESCA Open? Like there's no point. You know, I have to, I don't know, like pay the bills. It's like, do people, you know, what, you move out when you're 16 and you live on your own? I don't understand. Like, well, what are people talking about? You're still living with your parents. Like, what do you need? It's like so ridiculous. As if, you know, I don't want to, that's like a whole different sort of a topic and we're already running for 2 hours. So just got triggered at the very end.
Yeah, you all are so sociopathic when it comes to North Americans in this conversation.
But it's not just North America. It's like North America probably, well, not actually just North America.
Yeah, well, see, that's why I stay
Exactly.
away from it.
Not North America. It's just the United States of America.
I stay away from it, Jason. I don't bother. I don't want to get in this debate anymore.
Yeah.
Give me 5,000 a month so I can start trying to be
Wait.
not shit.
Who said that?
Instead of proving
who
that
said
you're
that,
not
though?
shit and then getting salary.
Who said
it's
that,
like,
though?
again,
Give me a name.
how am I explaining this? Like, who am I?
Can we end on a nice note?
Give me a name. I want names.
Yeah, Chad, that has to be up to you. Yeah, I ain't no snitch, Jason.
Let's end on something fluffy, guys.
Okay.
Let's be some you know, a nice little bit of smiles on the faces, everything going well.
This time next week we're gonna be in Rio.
Yeah, that's true. We're gonna.
And the games will be happening right now.
That's also true.
Had some good times in Brazil.
I don't know. Like, it kind of feels weird that the major's already here. I think I said this last week. It just feels strange that it's
I
already
wish
here.
we had another DreamHack challenger before.
Look,
hate you.
I don't.
We're supposed to be ending on something nice.
I'm incapable of
I
that.
can't find anything nice. I'm clicking around on Reddit. Is there anything nice? Is anyone saying anything nice?
Yeah, I'm trying to
Someone
scan
surely-
the front page to see if there's a feel-good story. There's a cute dog.
Okay.
That's all I got. Can't really show that on an audio-only podcast.
Oh, I don't know. This is it's not a good note, but it's an interesting note. Do we think Astralis will lure themselves into a false sense of security considering they beat Vitality in an online best of 3?
Hopefully not. Probably, but hopefully not. That's exactly what happened after Cologne, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was after. Oh yeah, I guess that as well. Yeah, they're kind of like
They came out and said
life support.
after Cologne was like, we're not making any roster changes. We believe in this after that top 4, and here we are.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, it ended up being a sad note. Again.
Yeah, that was a very sad note.
We've been gone for 2 hours. Let's get out of here.
All right, GG's. See you boys in a week.
Peace.